Chapter 3949. The reason why he did not let female immortal Fanjin enter the space-time dimension was because the space-time dimension was Lin Feng's secret. Other than those closest to him, how could anyone else enter? However, female immortal Fanjin was extremely embarrassed to be carried on Lin Feng's back. She had never interacted with a male cultivator like this before. Female immortal Fanjin said, "Can you put me down? I can walk on my own." Lin Feng said, "You have no magic power left. There will be a battle later. Do you think you can walk out of here alive?" Female immortal Fanjin could only nod. "Let's go," Lin Feng said in a low voice. The rest of the people led the way. "Don't let them escape." At this moment, a group of people had already rushed over. There was no way to hide the fact that the cultivator had been killed. The most important thing now was to rush out. As long as they could rush out, they would be able to leave this place. "Kill!" the group of cultivators shouted and charged towards the guards in front of them. These people had already been converted by Lin Feng and were completely under his control. Therefore, now this group of people was willing to sacrifice their lives for Lin Feng. The cultivators from both sides instantly engaged in a great battle. Lin Feng attacked from behind them. Rays of sword chi flew out and slashed towards the cultivators. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Ripping sounds could be heard one after another. One by one, the guards were killed. Soon, the group of guards were all killed by Lin Feng and the rest. They rushed to the entrance of the prison as fast as they could. The place was heavily guarded. However, under the attacks of Lin Feng and the rest, the line of defense was quickly broken. Female immortal Fanjin was extremely shocked. Naturally, she could tell that the reason why this group of people was so strong was mainly because Lin Feng was too strong. He was so young but so strong. Female immortal Fanjin could not help but be curious about Lin Feng's background. She did not know where her disciple had found such a powerful young expert to rescue her. Of course, Lin Feng's side was not without casualties. When they rushed out of the prison, only 3 of the guards were left alive. The rest were killed. After coming out of the prison, Lin Feng was about to leave. However, at this moment, he felt a terrifying aura enveloping his body. In the next moment, the void split open and the beautiful woman appeared. This beautiful woman had killed the fire dragon earlier, and her cultivation was extremely strong. After she appeared, she sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Bang! Lin Feng threw a punch at the woman. A powerful strength surged in the air, and the space around them cracked. "Who are you? How dare you sneak into the evil spirit sect?" The beautiful woman asked coldly. "Ha ha ha ha, it doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I've rescued her." Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh loudly. "Humph. So what if you immortal Fanjin, is die today? The immortal fan, you imdi to you kill. To immortal Fanjin was die immortal imdi. Previously, the beautiful woman had killed the fire dragon with her spear. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he summoned more than 10 powerful magic treasure. Under Lin Feng's control, more than 10 powerful magic treasure flew towards the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman's expression changed slightly. She never thought that Lin Feng would have so many high-grade magic treasure. Furthermore, Lin Feng was able to activate so many magic treasure at once. This was too inconceivable. Chaotic spear, shadow. The beautiful woman snorted. The silver spear in her hand swept out a dense number of spear shadows, blocking Lin Feng's attack. However, it was still very difficult to completely dissolve Lin Feng's attack of so many magic treasure. The power of those magic treasure was already terrifying enough. The shock waves from the magic treasures sent the beautiful woman flying. "Humph! You dare to behave atrociously in my spirit evil sect. You really don't know life from death." At this moment, a cold snort was heard. The old witch who presided over the ritual had arrived. The old witch held a white bone scepter in her hand, and then she waved the white bone scepter in her hand. Roar! The roar shook the heavens and earth, and the white bone scepter actually revealed a dense number of skeleton warriors. Those skeleton warriors bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Their roars shook the heavens as they held various weapons in their hands. They crushed the void and charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng hurriedly controlled his magic treasure to kill the skeleton army. Bang, bang, bang. A series of violent collisions rang out, and many magic treasure were swept away by the skeleton army. Then, the skeleton army flooded towards Lin Feng. The old witch's attack was indeed terrifying. Lin Feng controlled so many powerful magic treasure, but it was still difficult to resist the old witch's attack. It was truly inconceivable. Lin Feng quickly retreated. At the same time, Lin Feng summoned the holy monk's skeleton. The moment the holy monk's skeleton appeared, Buddhist light illuminated the heavens and earth. When the Buddhist light shone on the skeleton army immediately began to dissipate. The skeleton army that appeared from the old witch's white bone scepter was an undefeatable attack, but everything in the world reinforced and countered each other. The skeleton army was countered by the holy monk's skeleton. Lin Feng summoned back his magic treasure, and then kept the holy monk's skeleton. He then used the Tao of Space and traveled through space to escape. "You can't escape." The old witch sneered. Her body shook slightly, and in the next moment, the old witch disappeared without a trace. When she appeared again, the old witch had actually appeared in a parallel space, and she appeared above Lin Feng. "Brat, go to hell." The old witch laughed sinisterly, and the scepter in her hand struck towards Lin Feng. Feeling the terrifying attack, female celestial Fanjin was so scared that her face turned pale. If such a terrifying attack landed on them, she and Lin Feng would definitely be smashed into meat paste. This old witch was like a maggot in one's bones. She actually chased them so closely, Lin Feng's face couldn't help but sink. The old witch's attack was indeed powerful, but Lin Feng wasn't without a way to deal with it. In front of Lin Feng, a black light flashed, and a black war spear appeared in front of Lin Feng. This was the transformation of the three-headed viper. The three-headed viper was able to transform into a black light that resembled a black war spear. That was its initial state. Now, the three-headed viper's ultimate form had been determined. It was shaped like a black war spear. When Lin Feng held it in his hand, his strength merged with the three-headed viper's strength. It was able to reach its peak. Clang! Lin Feng held the three-headed viper's black war spear and directly collided with the old witch's white bone scepter. Lin Feng was sent flying more than 1,000 meters away, but the old witch only retreated a dozen meters. Chapter 3950. Pervert, really perverted. Lin Feng couldn't help but wail gloomily. The old witch was really too powerful. He really couldn't beat this old witch. If he couldn't beat her, then he would run. Lin Feng first took out hundreds of powerful jade talismans, and then he threw all of them at the old witch. Explode! Lin Feng coldly shouted, and those jade talismans were activated by him and directly exploded. Rumble! An earth-shattering boom rang out, followed by a devastating wave of energy that engulfed the old witch. The destructive power contained in that energy was too powerful, and it was really shocking. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that with the old witch's strength, there was no problem in blocking the power of the jade talisman's explosion. Lin Feng didn't expect the jade talisman's explosion to kill the old witch as long as it could block the old witch. Lin Feng was quite satisfied. Break. The old witch's expression sank slightly, and she waved the white-boned scepter towards the explosion's energy. The old witch's terrifying attack directly hit the explosion's energy. The explosion's energy was directly shattered by the old witch. But at this time, Lin Feng had already disappeared without a trace. He's really like a loach, but in the end, it's still a dead end. The old witch sneered and rushed out of the parallel space, once again chasing after Lin Feng. After Lin Feng rushed out of the spirit evil sect, he quickly flew through the forest. The old witch chased after him. This old thing's speed was really too fast. Moreover, this old thing also had some understanding of the Tao of space, so to shake off this old thing was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Lin Feng was also quite depressed. Kid, you're not with the group of people who stole the abyssal origin, are you? If I remember correctly, this woman seems to be the leader of a small force. That small force has already been destroyed. This woman obtained something that seems to be related to some kind of domineering aura. With her status, it is impossible for her to have too much of a relationship with an expert like you. But now that you are risking your life to save her, could it be that someone asked you to save her? What conditions did the other party give you? We, the spirit evil sect, will double the conditions. The condition is that you have to hand this woman over to us. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes after hearing the old witch's words. He didn't believe the old witch's words at all. Lin Feng knew that the old witch only said those words to disturb him. If he stopped himself, the old witch would immediately rush up and kill him. The old witch was an old fox, incomparably sinister. He had to be on guard against this old witch. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't take the old witch's words to heart at all. He continued to fly forward quickly. The old witch followed closely behind. It was impossible for the old witch to completely catch up to Lin Feng. It was also impossible for Lin Feng to shake off the old witch. Therefore, the two sides were in a stalemate. Flying at such a fast speed consumes a lot of magic power. How long can you last? When you can't hold on any longer, it will be the time for you to die, without a burial ground. The old witch said sinisterly. Lin Feng's expression was somewhat gloomy. The situation was indeed similar to what the old witch had said. There was a huge gap between his magic power and the old witch's. Therefore, if it was a competition of attrition, Lin Feng would definitely not be able to compete with the old witch. Right now, it was indeed more troublesome. If this situation continued, the old witch would catch up to him sooner or later. At that time, his magic power would be greatly consumed, and he wouldn't be a match for the old witch. He might even die in the old witch's hands. Go to the southeast. There is an extremely terrifying place. They're called the ghost tombs. That place seems to have many terrifying creatures buried there. Furthermore, it has formed a powerful magnetic field. Once you enter it, it is very easy to get lost inside. We might be able to take the risk and pass through that place. At this time, female immortal Fanjin said. Female immortal Fanjin had no other choice but to say that place. If she had any other choice, she definitely wouldn't say the ghost tombs. Although the ghost tombs weren't a land of death, the danger level of the ghost tombs wasn't much lower than that of a land of death. Lin Feng nodded and quickly changed direction, flying towards the ghost tombs. 6 hours later, Lin Feng finally saw the ghost tombs that female immortal Fanjin had mentioned. That area was shrouded in ghostly aura and was terrifying. It was already daytime. Moreover, when they were still more than 10 miles away from the ghost tombs, Lin Feng could feel a cold and terrifying aura spreading over. That aura was simply too terrifying. At this time, the old witch also knew of Lin Feng's plan. Her expression became incomparably gloomy. She naturally didn't want Lin Feng to enter the ghost tombs. Even someone as powerful as the old witch. She was also incomparably fearful of a place like the ghost tombs. "Kid, go to hell," the old witch screamed. She waved her white bone scepter and attacked Lin Feng. However, she was still thousands of meters away from Lin Feng. Therefore, when her attacks flew towards Lin Feng, the power had been greatly reduced. Lin Feng struck out with his palm, and those attacks were shattered by him. The old witch's attacks couldn't hurt Lin Feng. Finally, Lin Feng arrived outside of the group of ghost tombs. Without the slightest hesitation, he jumped in. The old witch hesitated for a moment before charging in as well. Initially, Lin Feng wanted to stay in the outer area and wait for the old witch to leave. Then he would leave the ghost tombs. However, he saw the old witch charging into the ghost tombs. Lin Feng's plan naturally fell through. Therefore, Lin Feng had no choice but to continue charging into the depths of the ghost tombs. Ghostly aura lingered in the ghost tombs, blotting out the sun. This was the misty sky. As they went deeper into the ghost tombs, Lin Feng was shocked to find that the path behind him had disappeared. He and female immortal Fanjin were lost in the ghost tombs. What a strange ghost tombs! There are many powerful cultivators buried here. The magnetic field is too strong. Is the magnetic field affecting my perception of the outside world? Lin Feng took a deep breath. This place was simply too bizarre. It was impossible to turn back. "Go in. You can't turn back." The Demon Lord's voice echoed in Lin Feng's mind. The Demon Lord's opinion was exactly the same as Lin Feng's. The ghost tombs were too strange. In such a place, one could only continue forward. There was no turning back. Because, Chapter 39:51, the ghost tombs were filled with Yin Qi. Lying on Lin Feng's back, Goddess Fanjin kept looking around. If she had come alone, she wouldn't have dared to come here. She wouldn't have dared come in. Only with Lin Feng would she have dared come in. Such a dangerous place was terrifying for cultivators. The slightest carelessness could lead to death here. Lin Feng frowned. When he arrived here, he felt an extremely oppressive feeling in his heart. It felt as if there was a terrifying existence staring at him from the dark. "Kid, you can't escape." At this moment, the old witch's voice sounded. Lin Feng was speechless. This old witch was really hot on his heels. Now, he had run into the ghost tombs. The fact that the old witch was still hot on his heels made Lin Feng feel rather gloomy. He increased his speed and rushed deeper into the tombs, pulling away from the old witch once more. However, not long after, a shrill scream was heard. After hearing that scream, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, because that scream was actually the old witch's voice. He didn't know what had happened to make the old witch scream like that. Could she have met with a calamity? She's so powerful. Could she have met with a calamity here? Goddess Fanjin said with a serious expression. "This place is very dangerous. Anything is possible." Lin Feng said with a serious tone. Even he could feel the dangerous aura. This place made him very uneasy. Lin Feng took out the Buddhist treasure Kasaya and wrapped himself and Goddess Fanjin in it. Lin Feng tried to walk out of the ghost tombs, but the tombs were too big. He couldn't turn back and could only walk deeper into the tombs. Goddess Fanjin looked behind and exclaimed, "There's a large amount of ghost fog coming from behind." Lin Feng turned his head and looked behind him. He also saw a huge amount of ghost fog. However, Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the ghost fog didn't quickly envelop them. If it had a target, it would be very scary. Time passed. The sun was setting. Darkness descended. At night, the group of ghost tombs became even more eerie and terrifying. Female celestial fan Zhen's magic power had recovered by 30%, and she was able to move on her own. Therefore, he got down from Lin Feng's back. However, female immortal fan Zhen still stood with Lin Feng. Both of them were draped in kasaya, using this treasure to protect themselves. They could even sense each other's auras. Whoa! The cries of malicious ghosts could be heard. Female celestial fan Zhen felt a chill behind her and turned around to look. Instantly, she saw a female ghost with disheveled hair and wearing a bloody robe appear behind her. That pair of sinister and terrifying eyes were staring at her. Ah! Female celestial fan Zhen let out a terrified cry. He was shocked by the female ghost. The female ghost stretched out her sharp claws and clawed at female celestial fan Zhen. But at this moment, the Buddhist treasure kasaya emitted a Buddhist light. The Buddha's light swept over the female ghost. Sizzling sounds of burning could be heard, and the female ghost's body emitted black smoke. The female ghost let out a blood-curdling screech, then quickly ran away. Seeing this, female celestial fan Zhen let out a long sigh. Then, female celestial fan Zhen's pretty face turned red. Clearly, she was a little embarrassed, which was why her pretty face turned red. After all, female celestial fan Zhen had cultivated for 360,000 years. Although this age was still considered very young compared to her long lifespan. Although this age was considered very young in the world of cultivators, Lin Feng was still too young. Acting so surprised in front of Lin Feng made female celestial fan Zhen feel a little ashamed. Why couldn't she compare to such a young cultivator? Lin Feng didn't think too much about it and didn't pay attention to female celestial fan Zhen's actions or the changes in her expression. He had been observing the group of ancient tombs. He didn't know when these ancient tombs were built. Many of the ancient tombs were emitting a sinister and terrifying aura. Lin Feng saw many ancient tombs, but realized that they didn't have tombstones. For some reason, these ancient tombs were nameless. If Taoist Wu Liang was here, that damned Taoist would definitely dig up the ancient tombs to see what was inside. However, Lin Feng wouldn't do that. He didn't have as many tricks as Taoist Wu Liang. Lin Feng was worried that after digging up the tombs, some terrifying things would appear. What if he couldn't deal with it? Suddenly, gusts of cold wind blew in the group of ancient tombs. At this moment, the ancient tombs started shaking violently. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Every time the ancient tombs shook, it would cause an earthquake. Kacha-kacha. Next, the ancient tombs started cracking. F***CK. Seeing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This was too much. Would some terrifying thing crawl out of the ancient tombs? We won't die here, right? Female celestial fan Zhen's face was pale. She had just escaped from the prison, and her hope of survival was reignited. As such, she didn't want to die. Don't jinx it. Don't say such ominous things at this time. Let's go faster, Lin Feng said in a low voice. Female celestial fan Zhen nodded and reached out to hold Lin Feng's arm. She was afraid that she would lose Lin Feng. Such an intimate action made female celestial fan Zhen blush. However, Lin Feng didn't have the time to think about such things. He just wanted to leave the group of ghost tombs as soon as possible. All sorts of sinister and terrifying sounds echoed in the group of ghost tombs. Those sounds came from the ancient tombs. Many pale white palms reached out from the tombs. Fortunately, the ancient tombs stopped cracking after reaching the point where the palms were reaching out. If the tombs continued to crack, who knew what terrifying things would happen? Perhaps those terrifying existences would crawl out of the tombs. Lin Feng didn't want to face those terrifying existences. Why is this place called the Group of Ghost Tombs? Lin Feng suddenly thought of the name of this place. He couldn't help but feel curious and asked. It's said, because this place is haunted, female celestial Fanjin said. Just as she finished speaking, then something that made one's hair stand on end happened. Above the tombs, figures appeared one after another. Chapter 3952. Who would have thought that someone would dare to enter the ghost graveyard? A female ghost said eerily. This female ghost should have been extremely beautiful when she was alive. Even though she had become a female ghost, her figure was still very well maintained. She was slim and alluring. Although one could not see what her face looked like, one could still imagine. However, no matter how beautiful she was when she was alive, she was now an evil ghost. A pair of cold eyes stared coldly at Lin Feng and Lady Fanjin, revealing a dense killing intent. TSK, TSK. A man and a woman ran in. Could it be that they had the same fate? Another female ghost said. This female ghost did not dare to compliment her. Not only was her figure out of shape, but half of her face was already rotten. It was a horrifying sight. Soft skin and tender flesh. It's delicious. It must taste good. A demon god said. This demon god only had half of his body and half of his head left. In the past, he had been split in half by someone. His death was really tragic. Who were you when you were alive? Why were you all buried here? Lin Feng asked curiously. These terrifying existences were stunned when they heard Lin Feng's question. Perhaps no one would have thought that Lin Feng would ask them who they were in their previous lives at this time. At this time, shouldn't they think of a way to escape? Perhaps to beg for mercy. However, Lin Feng did not do so. Screech, many terrifying existences, let out shrill cries. After hearing Lin Feng's question, they seemed to have been greatly provoked. Previous life, they were roaring and roaring. The memories of their previous lives seemed to be incomparably painful. Even though they had become malicious ghosts after death, when they recalled their previous lives, they still felt incomparably painful. They still did not want to think about the past. To them, it was the experience that they did not want to recall the most in their lives. Of course, there were also many terrifying existences who did not make any movements. Perhaps they had forgotten what had happened in their previous lives. Perhaps it was because they had seen through it, so they could control their emotions. We no longer have anything to do with our previous lives. We only wish to transcend in this life. As for you, you are destined to become the souls of the dead here. A cold laughter rang out. A terrifying existence stretched out his hand and grabbed towards Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjin. The one who attacked was a monster with 5 heads. It had the upper body of a human and the lower body of a scorpion. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He waved his hand, and an endless amount of Buddhist light condensed into the word swastika. This swastika flew towards the other party. Bang! The two sides collided, and Lin Feng's swastika blocked the opponent's terrifying attack. However, the swastika also dissipated, unable to cause any harm to this terrifying existence. This human brat's cultivation is really not bad. The terrifying existence said, Hey, this is indeed a bit interesting. Let me eat this brat. A snake demon said with a fiendish smile, and rushed towards Lin Feng. I want to eat him. I want to eat him. A female ghost screamed and rushed towards Lin Feng. Next, one terrifying ghost after another pounced towards Lin Feng. These ghosts all wanted to eat Lin Feng. After sensing the aura of these terrifying existences, female celestial Fanjin was so scared that her entire body trembled. After all, female celestial Fanjin's cultivation was only at the Imperial Emperor level. Although this level was not weak, in front of these terrifying existences, there was still a huge gap. these terrifying existences' mental pressure on female celestial Fanjin was extremely strong. However, Lin Feng was not affected. Although he was not affected, the attacks of these terrifying existences were still extremely terrifying. It made one's hair stand on end. Lin Feng did not dare to be negligent, and hurriedly summoned the holy monk's skeleton. The holy monk's skeleton floated above, and holy light surged out, shining towards the surroundings. When the holy light from the holy monk's skeleton shone on the ghosts, they immediately let out sharp and ear-piercing cries. Many of the ghosts' bodies began to burn. However, their methods were so powerful that they quickly extinguished the burning bodies. The holy monk's skeleton had scared the ghosts away, but they did not leave. Instead, they surrounded Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjun. It's a skeleton. That's right, it's really his skeleton. One after another, the ghosts spoke with uncertain expressions on their faces. The holy monk's skeleton could intimidate them, but it could not scare them away. It was not that the holy monk's skeleton was not strong enough, but these ghosts were simply too strong. Do you know who this skeleton was when he was alive? Lin Feng looked at the group of ghosts. He had always been very curious about the holy monk's identity when he was alive. However, Lin Feng did not know the exact identity of this existence. Although Lin Feng had some guesses, he could not be sure if they were true. "We know, but we just won't tell you," one of the ghosts said. Hearing that, the corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched violently. These ghosts actually knew how to mock people. "Kid, do you think you can escape just because you have the holy monk's skeleton? You won't be able to escape. To tell you the truth, your escape route has already been sealed. You can only go forward, and this place is only the outer region. The further you go, the more dangerous it will be. Moreover, we won't let you go any further. You can't unleash the power of this skeleton at all. We can grind you to death." One of the ghosts said sinisterly. Lin Feng's expression turned extremely gloomy. These guys were really despicable. Normal ghosts did not have such high intelligence. "Attack," another ghost said coldly. Following that, a ghostly aura filled the air, enveloping Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjun. The holy monk's skeleton emitted a powerful holy light, protecting Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjun. However, the holy light was gradually being eroded by the ghostly aura. With so many ghosts attacking together, Lin Feng clearly could not withstand their attacks. The situation was very troublesome. Lin Feng's facial expression couldn't help but become extremely solemn. And at this moment, something even worse happened. From the depths, a terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble uncontrollably was emitted. Chapter 3953. The situation was getting worse. Lin Feng's expression turned unsightly. It seemed that an even more terrifying existence was about to appear. However, Lin Feng found it difficult to shake off the terrifying ghosts surrounding him. Not long after, a terrifying existence appeared. Namo Amit Ba. The terrifying existence clasped his hands together and chanted Buddhist scriptures. Clearly, this terrifying existence was a monk when he was alive. However, his body was now shrouded in endless black energy. His body emitted a sinister aura, as terrifying as a malicious spirit. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath when he saw the face of the Venerable. This existence, once a holy monk, now an evil monk. His aura was simply too evil. Screech, upon seeing the evil monk's arrival, the terrifying ghosts surrounding Lin Feng let out ear-piercing screeches. Following that, they retreated one after another, not daring to get any closer. The arrival of the evil monk intimidated these terrifying ghosts. This evil monk that came from the depths was indeed different. "I never expected that benefactor would bring his skeleton in," the evil monk said, his eyes flickering with a sinister light. Upon seeing this evil monk, Lin Feng became increasingly worried for his safety. The fact that this evil monk could scare off so many terrifying ghosts was more than enough to show how terrifying this evil monk was. This evil monk had a sinister look in his eyes. He did not come with good intentions. Lin Feng had to be cautious. Otherwise, only death would await him. Lin Feng took a deep breath and looked at the evil monk. "Holy monk, do you know his identity?" "Keek keek." Upon hearing the word, "Holy monk," the evil monk immediately let out a sinister laugh. That laughter seemed to contain a hint of mockery. Lin Feng asked, "Holy monk, why are you laughing?" "Look at me. Do I look like a holy monk?" the evil monk asked. "No, you don't." "Of course not. You don't look like one at all." Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter inwardly. How did he look like a holy monk? He was clearly an evil monk who was heinous beyond redemption. Of course he looks like a holy monk. No, he was originally a holy monk. Lin Feng said with a grin. The surrounding group of ghosts rolled their eyes, thinking that this kid didn't even blush when he said such untrue words. How admirable! The corner of the evil monk's mouth twitched. He squinted at Lin Feng and said, "When it comes to shamelessness, you are almost on par with the 7 bald donkeys of Buddhism." Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he said, "The 7 great bald donkeys of Buddhism? Could it be that you're referring to the 7 great ancient monks of Buddhism?" The 7 great ancient monks of Buddhism were even more powerful than the 3 Buddhas of the future, present, and past. Every ancient Buddha had the ability to reach the heavens and penetrate the earth. They were the 7 greatest existences in the history of Buddhism. Evil monk coldly laughed and said, "That's right. He was talking about them. The existence that you have summoned is the golden body Dharma Laksana, one of the 7 great bald donkeys. It seems that you are destined to meet the Buddha." When evil monk mentioned the 7 great ancient Buddhas, he didn't show any respect. Instead, he was full of coldness, killing intent, and hatred. It seemed that there was a great hatred between evil monk and the 7 great ancient Buddhas, but no one knew what kind of hatred it was. Lin Feng naturally couldn't admit that he was destined to meet the Buddhas. If he did, wouldn't he be courting death? Evil monk would definitely kill him. Lin Feng hurriedly said, "Destined to meet the Buddhas, my ass. I also don't like the 7 great ancient Buddhas. They are just sanctimonious fellows. In fact, I dug out this skeleton from an ancient tomb." "You dug it out from an ancient tomb?" Evil monk showed a surprised expression. Then he coldly laughed and said, "Who are you trying to fool?" Lin Feng thought, "Aren't you a ghost? You said that I was trying to fool a ghost?" "I am indeed trying to fool a ghost." Lin Feng naturally wouldn't say these words in front of evil monk. He said, "Holy monk, this junior is speaking the truth. There is not a single lie." Evil monk said fiercely, "Whether it is the truth or not, I need to verify it. After I verify it, you will know." After saying that, evil monk directly opened his big hand and grabbed at Lin Feng. It seemed that this battle was unavoidable. Facing evil monk's attack, Lin Feng's face suddenly sank. Since this battle was unavoidable, he could only fight. Lin Feng continuously poured his magic power into Holy Monk's body, hoping to stimulate the power of Holy Monk's skeleton. Originally, Lin Feng found it very difficult to stimulate Holy Monk's skeleton. When Holy Monk's skeleton fought against enemies, it was instinctive. However, this time, Lin Feng didn't know if it was because of evil monk, but he found that Holy Monk's skeleton was actively absorbing the magic power in his body. Not long after, Lin Feng's magic power was completely sucked out by Holy Monk's skeleton. "Damn!" Lin Feng wailed. Shouted Lin Feng. The Holy Monk's skeleton was too strong. He didn't even have any strength left for himself. This made Lin Feng quite depressed. Lin Feng could only quickly recover his magic power. Holy Monk's skeleton stretched out his big hand and collided with Evil Monk's. After this attack, Evil Monk was forced to retreat. Evil Monk roared in anger. "You have been dead for so long. You still have such strength. Back then, it was the 7 of you who schemed against me. You expelled me from Buddhism. Today, I will settle this debt with you." Evil Monk roared in anger. Lin Feng was shocked. He didn't expect there to be such a relationship. Was Evil Monk an expert of the same era as the 7 ancient Buddhas? Was he expelled from Buddhism by the 7 ancient Buddhas? Could it be? Evil Monk became Evil Monk because he was expelled from Buddhism by the 7 ancient Buddhas. Was that why Evil Monk became Evil Monk? Although Lin Feng didn't know what happened back then, he felt that with the status of the 7 ancient Buddhas, there was no need to scheme against Evil Monk, right? Of course. This kind of thing was hard to say. After all, Lin Feng didn't experience what happened back then. Lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha on the spot. At this moment, the holy monk's skeleton spoke. Lin Feng was shocked. This was just a skeleton. How could it still speak? It was truly inconceivable. Evil Monk said fiercely, "I can't let it go. I can never let it go. Now, I only want to destroy you." As soon as he finished speaking, an evil world appeared behind him. And in that evil world, there was a huge hole in the ground. In that evil world, 3,000 monks surrounded by evil light appeared. So many evil monks. Lin Feng looked at the evil monks that appeared in that world in shock. Every one of them had an incomparably ancient aura. Their auras were extremely powerful. 3,000 worlds, 3,000 techniques. You are smearing history. You deserve death. Evil Monk's expression was cold. The 3,000 evil monks spoke together. Death. Chapter 3954. The word punish flew over with great power. The word punish. It exuded a terrifying aura. That aura made people feel a sense of horror. It was too powerful. When the word punish flew over, holy light surged out of the holy monk's skeleton, and 100,000 feet of holy light flew out. The holy monk's skeleton sat cross-legged in the endless holy light. Boundless Buddha, see, suddenly, the holy monk's skeleton let out a majestic voice. This voice seemed to shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths. After hearing this voice, Lin Feng felt his whole body tremble. It was as if he was about to be pulled into a boundless Buddha kingdom. In front of him, a vast sea appeared. That vast sea was formed by the Buddha's light. Endless Buddha's light surged in it. It was shocking. The Buddha's light turned into an ocean, dispelling all evil. This was the boundless Buddha sea that the holy monk's skeleton had mentioned. This was an unparalleled divine ability. This divine ability was so powerful, people couldn't help but be shocked. The word punish shouted by the evil monk, and the 3,000 evil monks was instantly swallowed by the boundless Buddha sea. Then, the boundless Buddha sea swallowed the evil monk. Run! When the surrounding ghosts felt the power of the boundless Buddha sea, they were all trembling in fear. Those ghosts fled frantically. They didn't dare to stay here any longer. If they continued to stay, they would probably die without a burial place. Finally, those ghosts all went into the graves and disappeared without a trace. The tombs that had been cracked closed once again. They resisted the invasion of the Buddha's light. The holy monk's skeleton was indeed powerful. It scared those terrible ghosts half to death. At this time, the boundless Buddha sea enveloped the evil monk and the 3,000 evil monks that appeared in the evil world. Back then, Buddhism abandoned me. We didn't accept it. The evil monk roared. Then, the 3,000 evil monks that appeared in the evil world roared together. Back then, Buddhism abandoned me. We didn't accept it. Their roars fused together. the 3,000 evil monks turned into 3,000 evil runes. As for the 3,000 evil runes, they all flew towards the evil monk. Finally, they went into the evil monk's body. The evil monk's aura began to rise. "You sanctimonious bastards, you don't deserve to be Buddhas." The evil monk roared angrily. His body grew bigger and bigger. Before long, he was 3,000 meters tall. He transformed into a giant. Lin Feng guessed that the number of eminent monks who were expelled from Buddhism back then was extremely high. This evil monk was one of them. The evil monks were the 3,000 evil monks that appeared in the evil world. He should belong to this category. The boundless Buddha continued to attack the evil monk's body. However, the evil monk, who had transformed into a giant, was simply too powerful. It was able to withstand the impact of the boundless Buddhist sea. Therefore, no matter how the boundless Buddha sea attacked evil monk's body, evil monk was not affected in the slightest. What a powerful evil monk! Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. He didn't know if the holy monk's skeleton could still resist this evil monk. The current evil monk was no longer the same as before. Strength. It was simply too terrifying. Infuse the power of 3,000 evil monks. I am now an invincible existence. Didn't you think of it? After countless years, all you have left is this skeleton. Your soul has long been destroyed. Only the last mark is left. And I have returned from the reincarnation and am still so powerful. Evil monk looked coldly at the holy monk's skeleton. Reincarnation, my ass. This guy really knows how to blow his own trumpet. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. Reincarnation usually referred to being reborn as a human, awakening the memories of the previous life, then starting the second cultivation and growing rapidly. After fusing the memories of the two lives, one's talent and cultivation would be even more powerful. Evil monk had turned into a ghost, so naturally it couldn't be called reincarnation. It was just that evil monk was more concerned about his reputation, so he bragged about it. This was also human nature. Who didn't care about their reputation? Under the impact of the boundless Buddha sea, evil monk still quickly approached the holy monk's skeleton as if he was in an unstoppable state. Go to hell. Finally, evil monk came in front of the holy monk's skeleton. He roared and slapped at the holy monk's skeleton. The holy monk's skeleton attacked and collided with evil monk's attack. Bang! Accompanied by the earth-shaking sound of the violent collision. This time, the holy monk's skeleton was blasted away by evil monk. The boundless Buddha sea that the holy monk's skeleton had evolved actually began to fluctuate violently. The boundless Buddha sea seemed to be about to collapse. Not good. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng's face couldn't help but sink. If the holy monk's skeleton was destroyed by evil monk, then he and female immortal Fan Zhen would naturally not have a good ending. Lin Feng was thinking about whether to help the holy monk's skeleton deal with evil monk. At this moment, the holy monk's skeleton quickly flew behind Lin Feng. Then, the holy monk's skeleton stretched out his right hand. His right hand was placed on Lin Feng's back. Lin Feng's body suddenly shook. Then, Lin Feng found that a large amount of information poured into his mind. His spiritual will quickly flipped through this information and was shocked to find out. This information turned out to be the operation method of the swastika mantra. Buddhism's 6-word mantra, Om, Ma, Ni, Pad, Mu, Hum, and Taoism's 9 secrets, Lin, Bing, Do, Zhe, Jia, Zhen, Lai, Zai, Qian, were the most mysterious inheritances. It was the foundation of the early Buddhism and Taoism. Lin Feng had obtained the Lin and Bing mantra of the 9 secrets of Taoism. As for Buddhism's 6-word mantra, Lin Feng did not obtain any of the six-word mantra. At this moment, the holy monk's skeleton had actually taught him the operation method of the swastika mantra, which made Lin Feng very shocked. "Operate the swastika mantra with me." At this time, an old voice suddenly sounded in Lin Feng's mind. This voice, it was the voice of the holy monk's skeleton. Lin Feng began to operate the spiritual power in his body according to the operation method of the swastika mantra. At the same time, Lin Feng felt that the power of the holy monk's skeleton also poured into his body and flowed in his body along with the operation method of the swastika mantra. In an instant, Lin Feng guessed what was going on. The holy monk's skeleton should want to use his body to fight against the evil monk. Lin Feng felt the power in his body surging. After the powerful force circulated in his body, all of it flowed into Lin Feng's throat. "Swastika!" Lin Feng couldn't help but shout. Thousands of Buddha's light gushed out and turned into the swastika mantra of the six-word mantra. The swastika mantra blasted toward the evil monk. "Break!" The evil monk roared and punched toward the swastika mantra in the void. The sound of a violent collision was heard after the evil monk collided with the swastika mantra. His body directly exploded. Chapter 3955. What a powerful divine ability! Lin Feng's face was full of shock. This true word swastika was worthy of being one of the Buddhist true words of Lin. Moreover, it was ranked first among the 6 true words. Its attack power was so terrifying that it could directly shatter the evil monk. With this divine ability, it would be the most effective way to deal with these evil ghosts. The demon lord said, "Buddhist divine abilities can restrain evil ghosts, and the true word swastika, it is one of the foundations of Buddhism. With this divine ability, the true word swastika, it can play a big role in many situations." Lin Feng agreed with what the demon lord said because the true word swastika was indeed terrifying. The most powerful thing about this divine ability was not that it could restrain evil ghosts. Even some other creatures would be seriously injured if they were attacked by the true word swastika. The true word swastika itself was the top divine ability, but it seemed to have greater restraining power and lethality against evil ghosts. Lin Feng had now obtained the cultivation method of the true word swastika, so he was extremely excited. With this divine ability, not only had his combat power been greatly improved against many evil ghosts, it could also restrain those terrifying existences. Of course, it would take a certain amount of time to cultivate this divine ability. The reason why Lin Feng had successfully used the true word swastika just now was because of the help of the holy monk's skeleton. Without the help of the holy monk's skeleton, it would be extremely difficult for Lin Feng to use the true word swastika by himself. Lin Feng was also very clear about this point. Whoosh! At this moment, the void split open, and an evil aura flew out from the cracked void. The evil aura wrapped around a remnant soul of the evil monk. The evil monk's methods were really powerful. Before his body was injured, a part of his soul escaped first. Then he hid in the void. That was how he escaped with his life. Lin Feng wanted to chase after the remnant soul of the evil monk, but it was too late. Now that the evil monk was not much of a threat, there was no need to pay attention to this guy anymore. The color of the holy monk's skeleton seemed to have dimmed a lot. Then the skeleton flew back into the Chonglu Demon Palace. Lin Feng tried to summon the holy monk's skeleton, but after many attempts, it ended in failure. Perhaps because the previous battle had consumed too much of the monk's energy, the monk's skeleton had fallen silent for the time being. Lin Feng's divine sense, he looked at Lady Fanjun and said, "Let's go." He wondered if it was because of the holy monk's bones that had a deterrent effect. They experienced extremely painful things when they were alive. After they died, they turned into ghosts and ghosts. Thinking about what happened in the past, they still felt incomparable pain. They even tried their best to forget what happened in the past. I'm guessing that the person who built these graves wanted them to be forgotten by the world. Lin Feng said with a sigh, "Big brother, you're right. The person who built these graves also wanted the world to forget everyone here." At this time, a voice suddenly came from behind a grave. When Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjin heard that voice, they were startled. They looked towards the tomb and saw a little girl who looked only 5 or 6 years old walking out from behind the tomb. The little girl looked like she was carved out of jade. She was very beautiful. However, Lin Feng and Lady Fanjun felt their hair stand on end. This was a group of ghost graves. Any existence that appeared here would not be easy to deal with, just like the little girl in front of them. The ghosts and ghosts in this area were intimidated by the holy monk's skeleton and did not dare to appear, but this little girl dared to appear here. That was enough. There were too many problems. Seeing Lin Feng and Lady Fanjun retreating with solemn expressions, the little girl seemed a little sad. She said, "Big brother, big sister, are you afraid of little Nanan?" "Afraid? Of course we are. Although you look very cute, you're not human. You're a ghost." Ghosts were sinister and knew how to use pity to gain sympathy. That was why many people were harmed by ghosts. Although Lin Feng was slandering her in his heart, he still smiled. He said, "Why would we be afraid of you? You're so cute. We can't even wait to like you. It's just that we almost died in this group of ghost graves. We were really frightened by the ghosts here, so when we saw you, little Nanan, we didn't recover in time. Little Nanan, can you not blame us?" Little Nanan was very happy when she heard Lin Feng's words. She asked, "Big brother, are you really not afraid of little Nanan?" "Of course not. Big brother likes little Nanan a lot," Lin Feng said with a grin. He spoke the words of a human and a ghost. Little Nanan became even happier. She turned to look at Celestial Fangjin and asked, "Big sister, are you afraid of little Nanan?" Big sister is naturally not afraid. Not only is she not afraid, but she also likes little Nanan a lot. Celestial Fangjin said something against her will. She had no choice but to lie when she was under someone else's roof. "That's great. That's great. Big brother and big sister like little Nanan a lot. Little Nanan is really happy." Little Nanan immediately jumped up and down. She then ran towards Lin Feng and Celestial Fangjin. Celestial Fangjin was scared half to death when she saw little Nanan running over. She wanted to retreat, but Lin Feng grabbed her. In truth, Lin Feng was also very scared. If little Nanan was an extremely terrifying ghost, the consequences would be unimaginable if she got close to them. However, Lin Feng instinctively felt that little Nanan didn't seem to be an extremely evil ghost. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to take a gamble. If he won little Nanan's trust, he might be able to get little Nanan to bring them out of this place. Lin Feng knew it was too difficult to leave this place. No one knew what terrifying existences were in the depths of this place. They had to rely on little Nanan's strength to leave this place. Little Nanan ran to Lin Feng and Celestial Fangjin's side and stretched out her pale hand. Chapter 3956. Looking at little Nan's innocent face, it was hard to imagine that little Nan was actually a female ghost. She was so naive and innocent, people couldn't help but want to hold her in their arms. So now, the suspicion that Lin Feng had towards little Nan had disappeared. People could indeed disguise themselves. But that pair of pure eyes could not be faked, because the eyes were the window to the soul. Anyone who saw such a pair of pure eyes would believe every word she said. Lin Feng and Goddess Fan Zhen each grabbed little Nan Nan's hand. Little Nan Nan's hand was very cold. Perhaps all ghosts' hands were like little Nan Nan's hand. It was so cold that it made one's heart tremble. If an ordinary person grabbed little Nan Nan's hand, they would immediately be invaded by ghost chi and be frozen into a lump of ice. This was little Nan Nan's hand. It was so cold that it was unbearable. However, Lin Feng and Goddess Fan Zhen's cultivation were both very strong, so they were able to withstand little Nan Nan's cold hands. Lin Feng looked at Nan Nan and asked, "Little girl, what are you doing? Which tomb here is yours?" Little Nan Nan's home is not here. Little Nan Nan's home is in the depths. Little Nan said. She treated the tombs here as her home. Hearing this, it really made one's heart ache. But soon, Lin Feng felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. Little Nan was really too young. At such a young age, how could she be buried in the depths of the tombs? The deeper one went into the ghost tombs, the more terrifying the existence would be when it was alive. Little Nan obviously did not have much strength, so how could she be buried in the depths of the tombs? Lin Feng couldn't understand why he had done that, but soon Lin Feng thought of another possibility. He asked, "Little Nan, do you live in that home by yourself?" Little Nan raised her little head and said, "Of course not. Little Nan and Nyang Qin are living together." It was just as he had guessed. Little Nan was not alone, but with someone else. Little Nan's mother also lived inside. Then, little Nan's mother, what level of existence was she when she was alive? Presumably, it must be incomparably terrifying, right? You still have a mother? Can your mother send us out? Celestial Maiden Fan Zhen asked excitedly. Lin Feng felt that Celestial Fan Zhen was oversimplifying things. Little Nan was pure and kind. This was because she was still very young when she died. Although she had turned into a Yin spirit, she still retained the innocence of the past. Therefore, the current little Nan could not be considered a ghost. A Yin spirit would only become a ghost if it developed evil thoughts. Little Tian's personality did not represent her mother's personality. Since her mother lived in the depths of the ghost tombs, it was obvious that she was a terrifying existence. Perhaps it was an extremely terrifying and vicious female ghost. It was all possible. Of course, there was another possibility. Little Nan was so pure and cute. Perhaps her mother loved her very much. Of course, her mother could also be a good ghost, like the female Ghost King. If that was the case, then Lin Feng and female Celestial Fan Zhen would be able to leave the ghost tombs. "Big brother, big sister, why are you leaving? Do you not want to play with little Nan?" Little Nan's tears immediately trickled down her cheeks, looking extremely heartbroken. "Of course not. We really like to play with little Nan. However, big brother and big sister still have many things to do. Wait until you're done with everything. Then you can come and play with little Nan, okay?" Lin Feng looked at little Nan and said, "Then it's a promise." Little Nan said, then stretched out her little hand. "Let's pinky swear. We can't change our minds for 100 years. Little Nan said naively. Lin Feng rubbed little Nan's head. Then he pinky swear with little Nan and said, "We can't change our minds for 100 years. Little Nan's tears turned into a smile. "Then I'll bring you to see Mother. Little Nan will let Mother send big brother and big sister out." Little Nan's voice was very clear and pleasant. "Okay, thank you, little girl." Lin Feng and female Goddess Fan Zhen could not help but smile. The two of them held little Nan's hand, and went into the depths of the ghost tombs. Originally, Lin Feng and female goddess Fan Zhen thought that when they entered the depths of the ghost tombs, other ghosts would definitely come looking for trouble. However, who would have thought that? Along the way, it was very peaceful. There were no ghosts at all. This made them very puzzled, not knowing what was going on. Logically speaking, this should not be the case. After all, even if little Nanan's mother lived in the depths of the ghost tombs, little Nanan should not be enough to scare off other ghosts, right? Unless little Nanan's mother was so powerful that the ghosts in the depths did not dare to provoke little Nan. Those ghosts would not appear at this time. The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Big brother, big sister, look, that's little Nanan's home. Little Nan pointed to the depths. There was a huge ancient tomb there. That ancient tomb was much bigger than the other tombs around it. The ancient tomb exuded a gloomy and terrifying aura. Anyone who felt that aura would feel their hair stand on end and be overwhelmed with horror. Other than the fact that the ancient tomb was huge, there was another special feature. The tombs around it were scattered on both sides of the ancient tomb. It was like the emperor was in court. The emperor sat in the middle, while the civil and military officials sat on both sides of the hall. Lin Feng didn't know why he was having such a strange thought, but it was a very strong one. 49 tombs on the left, 49 tombs on the right, including the huge ancient tomb in the depths. A total of 99 tombs. When Lin Feng saw the number of tombs, his face turned extremely ugly. The number 9 was unknown. The number 99 was even more unknown. Even the sage emperors of the human race did not dare to call themselves the number 99 because misfortune would befall them, and the misfortune that befell them would take the life of the sage emperors. Even the sage emperors of the human race could not withstand the number 99. From this, one could see how terrifying the number 99 was. And now, there were 99 tombs here. The place where little Nanan's mother lived was in the 99th tomb. The ghosts and ghosts here were extremely powerful and terrifying. They were also extremely evil and vicious. They were filled with endless hatred. There was only killing in their hearts. One could imagine just how terrifying of an existence Nanan's mother, who lived in the 99th ancient tomb, was. At that moment, Lin Feng had the feeling that his body, his soul, had fallen into hell. She saw me. Lin Feng's voice trembled slightly. Chapter 3957. The feeling of being stared at by little Nan's mother was simply too terrible. This feeling was simply enough to make one collapse. Lin Feng was slightly better. His body could still move. He could also move freely. Next to Lin Feng, celestial Fan Zhen couldn't move at all. Her entire person, it was as if she had turned into a wooden person. Mother, little Nan is back. Little Nan brought back a big brother and a big sister. Big brother and big sister are very good to little Nan. Mother, quickly come and see big brother and big sister. Little Nan said. The void distorted. In the next moment, a woman appeared. This woman was dressed in a white long dress. She was as beautiful as a fairy from the heavens. However, that pair of eyes made one's heart palpitate, because that pair of eyes was like the eyes of the Grim Reaper. If one were to look into that pair of eyes, it was as if all life would be taken away in an instant. Do you like them very much? Little Nan's mother looked at little Nan, and asked, Of course. Little Nan especially likes big brother and big sister. Little Nan hurriedly said. Following that, little Nan's mood became somewhat downcast. But big sister and big sister still have a lot of things to do, so big brother and big sister can't stay and play with little Nan. However, Big Brother has already made a pinky promise with little Nan Nan. When Big Brother is done with his business, he will come and see little Nan Nan again. Thinking that Big Brother will come and see little Nan Nan again in the future, little Nan Nan is very happy. Little Nan Nan was very pure. She had never doubted Lin Feng's words. She still remembered the promise between her and Lin Feng. Furthermore, she had firmly engraved this promise in the depths of her heart. Baby, you've played for a long time. It's time to go back and rest, little Nan Nan's mother said. Following that, with a wave of her hand, little Nan Nan disappeared. Little Nan Nan's mother looked at Lin Feng and Goddess Fan Zhen. Her eyes became extremely cold. How dare you take advantage of my daughter's kindness? Do you know the consequences of your actions? Little Nan Nan's mother stared coldly at Lin Feng and Fairy Fan Zhen. At that moment, Lin Feng felt that his body was almost unable to move. Little Nan's mother was truly too powerful to the point of causing others to be aghast. No matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to face such a terrifying existence. They probably wouldn't even have the strength to resist. We didn't take advantage of little Nan's kindness. We really like little Nan Nan. No one would have the heart to hurt such an innocent little girl. Lin Feng said in a hoarse voice, "Anyone can say that, but the key is how to do it. My daughter is very lonely. You keep saying that you like her. Then you should stay and accompany her. If you stay with her, I will believe what you say," Nan Nan's mother said. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. It was impossible for him to stay. He still had too many things to do. "We can't stay. I hope you can forgive me, Senior," Lin Feng said. Little Nan's mother's voice was filled with endless killing intent. She said coldly, "You can't stay, but you still dare to say that you like my daughter. You still say that you aren't using my daughter to escape? Liars, you are indeed liars. The two of you are nothing good. I will kill you and turn you into malicious spirits. That way, you will be imprisoned here forever. That way, you can always stay by my daughter's side." This terrifying existence looked at Lin Feng and Fairy Fan Zhen with a sinister smile. Then, she walked step by step towards Lin Feng and Fairy Fan Zhen. At that moment, Lin Feng felt an unprecedented aura of death enveloping his entire body. That feeling was too terrible. Lin Feng tried to communicate with some powerful magic treasures and fight with little Nan's mother to the death. He might even win a chance of survival. But soon, Lin Feng despaired, because, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't communicate with any magic treasures. Even his connection with the Demon Lord was cut off. It was really despairing. The main reason was because little Nan's mother was too powerful. Too powerful. He couldn't fight against her. So, little Nan's mother could only cut off his connection with the magic treasures. Lin Feng was already in complete despair. Anyone who encountered such a situation would feel this way. Lin Feng was no exception. Little Nan's mother's terrifying attack was about to hit Lin Feng and Fairy Fan Zhen. But at this critical moment, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. A silhouette appeared in front of Lin Feng and Celestial Fan Zhen. This existence struck out a palm and collided with little Nan's mother. The attacks from both sides caused the void to distort. Then, the distorted void began to collapse. After the collision, both of them retreated. When Lin Feng saw this existence, he almost cried. Savage. It was actually Savage Sr. In the past, Savage had followed his ancestor Lin Qi for a long time. Later on, Savage sealed himself for many years, which was why he was able to survive until now. Savage Sr. was powerful. Lin Feng knew. In fact, Lin Feng hadn't seen Savage for many years. Who would have thought that Savage would appear at this time? He appeared at the right time. If he had appeared a few seconds later, he would probably have been killed by little Nanan's mother. In this era, there's still someone with your cultivation? Little Nanan's mother looked at Savage in shock. Lin Feng didn't know what Savage's cultivation was. The only thing he knew was that Savage was incomparably powerful. Even little Nanan's mother seemed to be quite afraid of Savage. "I know who you are." Savage looked at little Nanan's mother and said, "We are a group of forgotten people." Little Nanan's mother seemed to have thought of the past. Her eyes were filled with endless killing intent and endless hatred. "No, no one has forgotten you," Savage said. "Who do you think you are? Do you think you can say whatever you want?" Little Nanan's mother suddenly lost control of her emotions and screamed at Savage. "Reincarnation, new life, past, future. You should look forward. You will realize that the scenery along the way is very beautiful. Life will also be very brilliant." Savage said, "A heart filled with hatred only has hatred. You can no longer enjoy the beautiful scenery. You remind me of my past life. You deserve to die." Chapter 3958. Her fingernails began to grow longer. Soon, they were 1/2 meter long and shone with a blue luster. They contained a terrifying corpse poison. Little Nan's mother's sharp claws slashed across the void, instantly tearing the void apart. The power of time and space quickly seeped out from the torn space. But soon, the torn void healed again. Little Nan's mother's terrifyingly sharp claws swiped towards the barbarian. The corpse poison on her claws was terrifying. Even the Savage couldn't help but frown slightly. It was obvious that the Savage was quite wary of the poison on the mother's claws. Of course, the Savage's methods were extraordinary. Facing the venom on little Nan's mother's sharp claws, a powerful magic power appeared on the surface of the Savage's body, protecting his body. He opened his palm and used it as a saber. In an instant, a giant saber formed from magic power slashed towards little Nan's mother. Clang! The two sides fiercely clashed. Nan's mother and the Savage's attacks were very powerful. It was very difficult to suppress the other party. Epic, changing cycle. Suddenly, Nanan's mother used a peerless and invincible divine ability. After this divine ability was used, numerous worlds appeared behind Nanan's mother. Those worlds were epics of different eras. The old epic was destroyed. A new epic was born. The changing of epics was like the changing of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. A terrifying aura pervaded the world. It was too frightening. It was suffocating and filled people with despair. Nan's mother was indeed too powerful. Her techniques were too frightening. Lin Feng couldn't help but be moved. The divine ability that little Nan's mother grasped was definitely one of the most powerful divine abilities in history. Just the name alone was enough to tell how powerful and terrifying it was. 6 paths of reincarnation. The Savage also made his move. He used the supreme technique of the human race, the 6 paths of reincarnation. Nan's mother's technique and the Savage's technique clashed once more. This time, Nan's mother's technique was broken by the Savage's 6 paths of reincarnation. Little Nan's mother was forced to take a few steps back in this confrontation. Little Nan's mother had suffered a small loss, but it was only a small loss. It was hard to imagine what level the little girl's mother and the Savages were at. Their battle had completely exceeded the scope of Lin Feng's imagination. The Savage grabbed Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjin and quickly flew outside. Little Nan's mother's expression was very gloomy, but she did not make a move to stop the Savage. Although she had only lost by half a move in the battle just now, she had already lost. But even if he only lost by half a move, but that was still a loss. Of course, little Nan Nan's mother could summon the terrifying existences from the other tombs to deal with the barbarians together. With the help of those terrifying existences, they should be able to deal with the barbarians. However, Nan Nan's mother did not do so, because little Nan Nan's mother disdained to do so. Lin Feng and female celestial Fanjun were brought out of the ghost tombs by the savages. They stopped in the middle of a forest. Lin Feng looked at the savage and said, "Senior, why are you here?" "I returned from the undying realm and was looking for something very important, so I came here. When I passed by the ghost tombs, I saw the two of you." The savage said, "How lucky! If the savage had not appeared, they would not have been able to escape this calamity." "Senior, thank you for saving us." Female celestial Fanjun thanked the savage. The savage nodded. Lin Feng did not thank the savage, because, with the relationship between Lin Feng and the savage, there was no need for him to thank him. The savage, he was Lin Feng's Tao protector. Although the savage was not always by Lin Feng's side, he was still Lin Feng's Tao protector. The savage left Lin Feng because he had some important matters to deal with. Secondly, he did not want to interfere too much with Lin Feng's life. He hoped that Lin Feng could rely on himself to grow up. He could help Lin Feng occasionally. If he kept helping Lin Feng, then, let's see, how could Lin Feng grow up? When the time came, he was destined to be a flower in a greenhouse. Female celestial Fanjun was a very smart person. She knew that it was time to leave this place, give Lin Feng and the savage some time alone. So she walked away. Lin Feng said, "Senior, I remember you said that my ancestor Lin Qi left something with you. When I become stronger, I can get it." The savage nodded and said, "That's right. I've been keeping it for you. Your current cultivation is indeed quite good. However, in my eyes, it's still lacking. How about this? Break through to the Emperor realm. I'll give it to you." Break through to the Emperor realm? Can I break through to the D-ancestor realm earlier? Lin Feng asked. He really wanted to see what ancestor Lin Qi had left behind. Right now, Lin Feng was in the Emperor realm. If he wanted to break through to the Emperor realm, there was still the Emperor realm, and the Saint Emperor realm. How long would he have to wait? No, the savage said resolutely. Although Lin Feng hadn't spent much time with the savage, he knew that since the savage had already made his decision, it was impossible to change his mind. That was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. So, Lin Feng could only nod and agree. When he broke through to the Emperor realm, he would ask the savage for the things left behind by ancestor Lin Qi. Cultivate well. Don't slack off. The savage patted Lin Feng's shoulder. "Senior, are you leaving? Where do you plan to go?" Lin Feng asked. He was very reluctant. The savage, in Lin Feng's eyes, he wasn't just his Tao protector. He was also his elder, his relative. There are still some important things that need to be done. I can't stay in one place for too long. But don't worry. Wait until you break through to the Emperor realm. I'll appear, the savage said. Then he walked into the distance. With a few leaps, he disappeared without a trace. Who is that person? Isn't he a little too powerful? Celestial Fanjun flew over and asked curiously. My Tao protector, Lin Feng said. After experiencing so many things with Lin Feng, the beautiful woman had developed a great interest in Lin Feng. Her charming eyes stared unblinkingly at Lin Feng's eyes. Chapter 3959. The only thing she knew about Lin Feng was that Lin Feng was someone Zhong Haimei and Nangong Lingbing had found to save her. Apart from that, there was nothing else she knew about him. Therefore, Goddess Fanjun was very curious. What was Lin Feng's social status? Such an extraordinary person must have a shocking identity, right? Lin Feng said, "I'm your benefactor." She said, "You should know that's not the answer I want to ask." Lin Feng smiled faintly. "Why are you so insistent on knowing my identity? I usually don't want to tell other female cultivators about my identity. Do you know why?" "Why?" She looked at Lin Feng curiously. "It's because I'm worried that too many women will think of me day and night after knowing my identity, wanting to become my woman. As for me, I'm a man who can walk through a field of flowers without being touched by a single leaf," Lin Feng said proudly. She couldn't help but roll her eyes and say, "Bah, how shameless." One had to admit that if a person was beautiful, even rolling their eyes would make them look charming. Beautiful, truly beautiful. I originally thought you were a Taoist nun, but after seeing you, I realized you're not a Taoist nun. Since you're not a Taoist nun, why do you have such a strange name?" Lin Feng asked, puzzled. When she heard Lin Feng praise her beauty, she couldn't help but feel a little proud. Which woman didn't like to be beautiful? Which woman didn't want others to praise her beauty? She was a Taoist nun. Naturally, she also wanted others to be amazed by her beauty, especially Lin Feng, a man who had moved her heart. Lin Feng's opinion, Taoist Nun Fanjun. She was even more important. Taoist Nun Fanjun said, "If a person is too beautiful, there will be a lot of suitors. And those suitors, they kept circling around him. They're like a swarm of insects, buzzing nonstop. That's why I need to find a way to get rid of these annoying insects." Celestial Maiden Fan, Jin said. When Lin Feng heard Celestial Fanjun, he understood what Celestial Fanjun meant. Female Celestial Fanjun's name sounded like a female Taoist in Taoism. Of course, they were also commonly known as Taoist nuns. He was a monk after all. Since he was a monk, it must be the sixth sense's tranquility. He would not consider the relationship between the two women. Therefore, those suitors would sigh with emotion for a while and then leave silently. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Your method is quite useful, but now let's get down to business." "What is it?" Celestial Fangjin asked. "About the reward." Lin Feng said, "You don't look like someone who lacks treasures or divine abilities. Given your cultivation level, do you think you would be interested in my items?" Celestial Fangjin said. She then continued, "Of course, if you want something, you can tell me. If I have the ability, I'll do my best to satisfy you. I heard that you obtained something that is related to condensing haki. Previously, you were captured by the evil spirit sect because of that item. May I know where it is now?" Lin Feng asked. "You saved me because you wanted to obtain that item?" Celestial Fangjin frowned. "That's only one of the reasons." Lin Feng said, "I'm friends with Zhong Haimei and Nangong Lingbing. Since they came looking for me, how could I not help them?" Celestial Fangjin naturally did not believe Lin Feng's words. If that item did not exist, Celestial Fangjin did not believe Lin Feng would save her. "I've already used that item. You won't have the chance to get it," Celestial Fangjin said. "Don't lie to me. If you had really used it, the people from the Spirit Evil sect would have killed you a long time ago. The Spirit Evil sect has been torturing you all this time because you have yet to use that item. You must have hidden it somewhere. You're pretty smart. You knew that if you revealed the whereabouts of that item, the Spirit Evil sect would never let you off. In fact, no matter how they tortured you, you didn't reveal it. Actually, I really admire your tenacity. You're a woman. It's not easy to do what you've done." Lin Feng said, "For the sake of survival, Sometimes you have to be ruthless to yourself, Celestial Fangjin said. If that's the case, you don't intend to give that item to me? Lin Feng asked. Of course. That item is very important to me. I'd rather take that item to hell than hand it over, Celestial Fangjin said. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. It seemed like Celestial Fangjin wasn't going to give him the item. Torture was obviously useless against Celestial Fangjin. However, Lin Feng did not intend to torture her either. He had other methods. Do you know what I'll do to you? Lin Feng glared at Celestial Fangjin. Originally, the two of them were getting along quite well. However, when it came to conflicts of interest, the relationship between the two of them, immediately, it dropped to the freezing point. What do you want to do to me? Are you going to kill me? Celestial Fangjin said coldly, I've always been kind to women. Why would I kill you? Lin Feng waved his hand. A powerful force surged out and imprisoned Celestial Fangjin's body. Celestial Fangjin struggled with all her might, but to no avail. Celestial Fangjin said in a panic, If you dare to touch me, I won't let you off. If you're afraid, hand it over. Lin Feng said. No. Celestial Fangjin's attitude was still very firm. This woman was so stubborn that Lin Feng could not help but feel depressed. It seemed like normal methods could not deal with this woman. He could only use some special methods. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless, Lin Feng snorted coldly. Next, he used the Great Purification Technique. Lin Feng planned to purify Celestial Fangjin. Then, he would order Celestial Fangjin to bring him to that item. There were very few cultivators who knew the Great Purification Technique. Even the Spirit Evil sect didn't have anyone who cultivated the Great Purification Technique. Otherwise, the cultivators of the Spirit Evil sect would have already used it on female Celestial Fangjin. Chapter 3960. With her cultivation, it was naturally impossible for her to resist Lin Feng's purification. A powerful purifying force surged into female immortal Fangjin's mind and purified her instantly. Master! She bowed to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Celestial Fangjin. Celestial Fangjin had become much more obedient after being converted. He asked, What was that thing you obtained? Master, it was a tyrant stone. Female Celestial Fangjin said. Lin Feng raised his brows slightly. There were many ways to condense qi, such as some unique techniques passed down from generation to generation or some precious treasures. However, these things were extremely rare. It seemed like Goddess Fangjin's tyrant stone was one of these treasures. Lin Feng had seen a tyrant bone before, but he had never seen a tyrant stone before. There was a difference between a tyrant bone and a tyrant stone. A tyrant bone could increase the level of one's qi. For example, Lin Feng's epic qi was very special. It was an evolvable qi. Epic qi. One could use a tyrant bone to increase it. A tyrant stone could not increase the level of one's qi. However, a tyrant stone could help a cultivator cultivate their qi. A tyrant stone was extremely rare in the world. It was rumored that a tyrant stone was a special stone that was formed when an epoch changed. It was branded with the power of the world's qi. Only a few tyrant stones could be born in an epoch. Therefore, a tyrant stone was extremely precious. Once it appeared, it would definitely cause a storm of blood. So many people with great providence had failed to obtain a tyrant stone, but Goddess Fangjin had obtained one. One had to admit that this woman's luck was extraordinarily good. What tyrant stone is this? Lin Feng asked. Azure Dragon Tyrant Stone. Goddess Fangjin replied. Hearing that, Lin Feng's face lit up. The Azure Dragon Tyrant Stone's corresponding qi was the Azure Qi. among the 9 types of qi. The azure qi was the 7th level of qi. Lin Feng's white tiger qi was the azure qi. Where is that tyrant stone? Lin Feng asked. Master, please follow me. Goddess Fanjin replied. 1 month later, Lin Feng and female immortal Fanjin came to a small town called Driftcloud Town. Female immortal Fanjin actually had a mansion in this small town. There was an old servant helping female immortal Fanjin to look after the mansion. She brought Lin Feng into the secret chamber and took out the tyrant stone, handing it over to Lin Feng. This tyrant stone was about the size of a fist and was completely green in color. There were divine inscriptions imprinted on it. Those divine runes intertwined together and finally transformed into the appearance of a ferocious azure dragon. This was the green dragon tyrannical stone. Lin Feng put the green dragon boss stone away and removed the great purification technique from celestial Fanjin's body. Lin Feng had no intention of taking immortal true fairy as a servant. Although she was pretty, her cultivation was not strong enough. How could he be qualified to become Lin Feng's servant? Give me back my Ba Shi. Female immortal Fanjin screamed and pounced towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and pointed, causing female immortal Fanjin to be rooted to the ground, unable to move. Ba Shi is mine. Don't even think about taking it back. As for your 2 disciples, Zhong Haimei and Nangong Lingbing, they are in Muxia Town, 1,000 miles away from the spirit evil sect. Think of a way to inform them to meet up with you. Even if something like Ba Shi falls into your hands, it is useless because it is basically impossible for you to cultivate qi. It is better to find a place to conceal your identity and live a low-key life in case the spirit evil sect finds you again. At that time, you will definitely lose your life. Lin Feng looked at female immortal Fanjin and said, following which the surrounding space slightly distorted and Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng found a quiet place to cultivate in the mountain forest. He planned to cultivate his 4th type of qi, but he did not know if he could succeed. Lin Feng held the tyrant stone and carefully sensed it. Soon, Lin Feng entered a mysterious state of enlightenment. He felt that he had arrived in a huge space, and within this space there was a huge green dragon. The huge green dragon looked coldly at Lin Feng with a pair of cold eyes. When he saw the huge green dragon, Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. The huge green dragon's aura was extremely terrifying. He could feel that the green dragon's eyes were filled with killing intent. Lowly existence, you want to cultivate qi of the green dragon? What a joke. Go to hell, the green dragon roared, its voice filling every corner of the space. Following which, the green dragon pounced towards Lin Feng. It wanted to devour Lin Feng directly. Because Lin Feng's soul had entered this mysterious space, after Lin Feng's soul was devoured by the green dragon, he would die. Humph! Little green dragon, how dare you launch an attack on me? I think you don't want to live anymore. Lin Feng could not help but snort coldly as he activated his supreme qi of supremacy. The supreme qi of supremacy bombarded the green dragon. Roar! The green dragon let out a miserable cry. This green dragon was formed by the green qi of supremacy, and the suppression between qi of supremacy was very strong. The suppression of a high-level qi of supremacy over a low-level qi of supremacy was very strong. Lin Feng's supreme qi of supremacy was at the 9th level, so naturally he could suppress the green dragon formed by the green qi of supremacy. The green dragon shattered. It turned into runes. Lin Feng's divine will enter the runes and began to read the contents recorded in the runes. The runes recorded the cultivation method of qi of the green dragon. In addition to the cultivation method of qi of the green dragon, To cultivate qi of the green dragon, one also needed the help of the green dragon tyrannical stone. The green dragon tyrannical stone contained a vast amount of energy. When cultivating qi of the green dragon, one needed to absorb this special energy to condense qi of the green dragon. This was also the reason why qi of the green dragon was difficult to cultivate. Just by obtaining the cultivation method, one would not be able to cultivate qi of the green dragon. In order to cultivate qi of the green dragon, special items were often needed to assist. Lin Feng spent a year in the time and space. He spent a year cultivating qi of the green dragon. It could be seen how difficult it was to cultivate qi of the green dragon. Fortunately, hard work did not disappoint. In addition, Lin Feng had already cultivated the supreme qi of supremacy, white tiger qi, and epic qi of the three qi of supremacy. So, although condensing qi of the green dragon was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, Lin Feng still succeeded in condensing it. When the qi of the green dragon in his body was activated, a huge green dragon phantom appeared behind Lin Feng. The green dragon phantom hovered in the air, and the dragons might spread for 30,000 miles. As expected of the qi of the green dragon, its power was extremely powerful. Lin Feng did not waste so much time and risk so much to get Fairy Fanjin out of the spirit evil sect. Lin Feng came out of seclusion and flew towards the gloomy ancient forest. On the way, Lin Feng stopped at a place called Stone Golem City. He planned to rest here. After arriving at Stone Golem City, Lin Feng heard that the auction house was going to sell the Abyss Origin. Chapter 3961. Lin Feng naturally remembered something like the Abyss Source. It was a supreme treasure. During the spirit evil sect's sacrificial ceremony, the Abyss Demon had rewarded the sect with an Abyss Source. Lin Feng had even wanted to snatch the Abyss Source, but someone else beat him to it. This kind of Abyss Source was extremely rare and not easy to obtain. But now, it was being auctioned off. It was truly inconceivable. Of course, there was another possibility. This possibility was that these people couldn't distribute it evenly, so they had to auction it off. Why not exchange it for a large amount of immortal stones? Every faction would get a portion of the stones. After all, if those major forces wanted to operate, they would need enough immortal stones to support them. If they didn't have enough immortal stones, it wouldn't be enough for the entire sect to operate normally. After asking around, Lin Feng found out that the person auctioning the Abyss Source seemed to be related to the genuine immortal sect, the Black Robe clan, and several other factions. When he heard this, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. Could it be that the genuine immortal sect and the Black Robe clan were the ones who snatched the Abyss Source from the spirit evil sect? The genuine immortal sect and the Black Robe clan were indeed in cahoots. Enemies truly were bound to meet on a narrow road. Lin Feng planned to stay and participate in the auction because the Abyss Source was very important to him. After obtaining it, he might be able to use it to break through to the Emperor Ancestor realm. Lin Feng was very much looking forward to breaking through to the Emperor Ancestor realm. If he could break through to the Emperor Ancestor realm, it would be a major transformation for him. Of course, Lin Feng was also very clear that the competition for the Abyss Source would be extremely fierce. Whether or not he could obtain, it was still uncertain. Lin Feng first found a place to stay. The auction would only be held 10 days later. During this time, Lin Feng could continue cultivating. He entered the time and space and began to cultivate the swastika mantra, a supreme technique. This ability was extremely difficult to cultivate. Fortunately, Lin Feng's comprehension was strong. In addition, the holy monk's skeleton had used the swastika mantra once through Lin Feng's body. Thus, Lin Feng had a certain understanding of how to use the swastika mantra. Therefore, even though it was very difficult to learn swastika, Lin Feng had managed to learn it in a short time. I thought it would take a long time to succeed. Who would have thought I would succeed so quickly? I'm a genius. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. He was like an old man who was selling melons and praising himself. After Lin Feng exited seclusion, Lin Feng headed to the auction house. There were many people participating in the auction. People were coming and going, and it was very lively. Not just anyone could enter the auction house. Only those with a certain amount of wealth or strength could enter the auction house. Lin Feng was stopped by someone. He casually tossed a few dozen immortal stones to a group of guards. The guards immediately showed a respectful expression and invited Lin Feng into the auction house, as if he was their ancestor. The guard commander even arranged a private room for Lin Feng. Although it was only an ordinary private room, it was impossible to get one if one didn't know the people in the auction house. There was a saying that money could make the devil turn millstones. It was true. Lin Feng waited for the auction to begin. A large number of cultivators swarmed into the auction house. The auction house was huge and could easily accommodate 100,000 people. Those with status were all ushered into the private rooms. After waiting for about 2 hours, the auction house was basically full. The auction officially began. A beautiful woman walked out. She looked to be in her 30s. She was dressed in a long purple dress, which accentuated her graceful figure. She was alluring and attracted many people's attention. Everyone, my name is Zhuge Xinyu. I'm the auctioneer for this auction. Next, we will be auctioning the first item. After Zhuge Xinyu's voice fell, a beautiful maidservant walked over with a tray. Zhuge Xinyu opened the tray. A treasure appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The thing on the tray was actually a purple metal ball. What's that? Many people were puzzled. Generally speaking, the first auction item was usually an extremely precious treasure. The first auction item was called a good start. It had to be a good start. This metal ball is called the Taishan Divine Stone Immortal Ball. It's a supreme treasure made from Taishan Divine Stone. It's one of the treasures that the Taishan Celestial Lord forged in the past. It's a top-grade Emperor weapon with both offense and defense. It's extremely powerful, Zhuge Xinyu said. Hiss. When Zhuge Xinyu's voice fell, the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. A top-grade Emperor weapon was being auctioned. What a big deal. A treasure like that could almost be the final item. It seemed that the auction house was very well prepared. The auction houses in Bitter Cold State were basically in the hands of the imperial family. Therefore, these auction houses were very capable. Good stuff, it's really good stuff. Lin Feng couldn't help but show a lot of interest. Now, apart from emperor weapons and supreme treasures that could attract Lin Feng, ordinary treasures couldn't attract Lin Feng's attention at all. However, this treasure was different. It was a top-grade emperor weapon and was extremely powerful. Of course, Lin Feng first needed to see what price these people were bidding. His main target was the Abyss Origin. Lin Feng had recently obtained the storage rings of some experts, so he had a lot of immortal stones. However, even if he added all the immortal stones together, he only had a little more than 10 million immortal stones. Other than the Abyss Origin, Lin Feng still needed a lot of immortal stones to provide energy for his breakthrough. Therefore, Lin Feng needed to buy other things. The starting bid for this treasure is 500,000 immortal stones. Each bid must be increased. It can't be lower than 100,000 immortal stones. Zhuge Xinyu said with a smile. 600,000 immortal stones. 700,000 immortal stones. 800,000 immortal stones. 900,000 immortal stones. 1 million immortal stones. Clearly, many factions were very interested in this treasure. Therefore, people began to participate in the bidding. As for the price of this treasure, it continued to soar. It didn't take long for the price to break through the 1 million mark. However, this was a peak-grade Emperor weapon. It was far from reaching the final price of a top-grade Emperor weapon. 1,200,000 immortal stones. 1,500,000 immortal stones. Chapter 3962. Lin Feng hadn't made a move yet. He was still waiting calmly. He wanted to see how much the price of this treasure would soar to. Many factions were eyeing this supreme treasure. After an intense bidding war, the price of this supreme treasure had reached 6 million immortal stones. It's Yuan Huaqing from the Godly Saber School. He's the 8th elder of the Godly Saber School. He's really generous. 6 million immortal stones. How many experts can he nurture? It's only 6 million immortal stones to buy a top-tier monarch weapon. This price is actually not too high. You can't say that. Things are different now. In the past, all kinds of materials were hard to find, so it was very difficult to forge imperial weapons. That's why imperial weapons were rare. But now, those ancient experts who sealed themselves in stone have come out one after another. Those people were all people with great luck back then, so they had a lot of treasures. Not to mention imperial weapons, some of them could even take out immortal weapons. Many imperial weapons were passed down from those experts, so the value of imperial weapons now is much lower than before. That's right. If it was in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if this treasure was auctioned for 20 to 30 million immortal stones. Now that Emperor weapons are no longer rare, it's already extremely shocking for it to be auctioned for 6 million immortal stones. Many cultivators in the auction house started discussing spiritedly. These cultivators felt that 6 million immortal stones was the highest price. Just as Zhuge Xinyu was about to finalize the price, a voice suddenly came from a private room. 7 million immortal stones. It was Lin Feng who shouted that price. Although imperial weapons weren't rare anymore, this kind of defensive imperial weapon was still relatively rare. Lin Feng valued the defensive power of this imperial weapon. At certain times, it might be able to play an extremely crucial role. Therefore, Lin Feng participated in the bidding war. You dare to compete with me? Yuan Huaqing, the 8th elder of the Godly Saber School, said with a gloomy face. Lin Feng said indifferently, in an auction house, it's natural for people with abilities to speak. If you're strong enough, then continue bidding. If you're poor, then shut up. Many people's mouths twitched when they heard Lin Feng. Who was this guy? He actually dared to humiliate the 8th elder of the Godly Knife clan, Yuan Huaqing. How audacious! However, his words were crude, but his reasoning was not. In the auction house, the highest bidder would win. No matter how depressed the 8th elder of the Godly Knife sect, Yuan Huaqing, was, he didn't dare to make a move in the auction house. Brat, I'd like to see which of us is the poor bastard. The 8th elder of the Godly Knife clan, Yuan Huaqing, said fiercely. Now, it was no longer a simple competition for this treasure. It also involved the issue of face. Everyone has a face. Buddha fights for an incense stick. The more powerful a cultivator was, the more they valued their reputation. 8 million. Yuan Huaqing stated a price with a gloomy face. 9 million. Lin Feng continued to bid. 10 million. Yuan Huaqing continued. Everyone was dumbfounded. These two people were really rich and overbearing. The increment was 1 million immortal stones, 1 million immortal stones after another. This was simply too exciting. Now, the two of them had changed from competing for magic treasures to competing for battle chi. The happiest person on the scene was none other than Zhuge Xinyu. The higher the price of the auction item, the more rewards she would get. Seeing Lin Feng and Yuan Huaqing compete in wealth, she felt as if her heart was about to explode. It was as if flowers were about to bloom in her heart. 11 million. Lin Feng continued to bid. 12 million. Yuan Huaqing continued to bid. 13 million. Lin Feng continued to bid. 15 million. Yuan Huaqing raised the price by 2 million, seemingly wanting to scare Lin Feng away. 20 million. Lin Feng said indifferently. Yuan Huaqing's expression was extremely gloomy, and his whole body was trembling with anger. The cultivators beside Yuan Huaqing all advised him not to continue bidding. F***CK. His bid was too high. He wouldn't end up losing, right? Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. He continued to mock. A poor bastard will always be a poor bastard. Just a mere 20 million immortal stones, and you can't even keep up? A mere 20 million immortal stones. Everyone was dumbfounded. Next, they smiled bitterly. 20 million immortal stones was truly an astronomical number. In the eyes of this mysterious man, it was actually just a small number. Was this guy so rich that he only had immortal stones left? 25 million. After being provoked by Lin Feng, Yuan Huaqing completely ignored the dissuasion of the others and raised the price by another 5 million. Lin Feng didn't say anything. Yuan Huaqing became complacent and said mockingly, "Brat, what's wrong? You can't afford a higher price. Now, you know who's the poor bastard? Cough, cough. You're awesome. You're rich. I admire you. I'm a poor bastard, okay? Congratulations on successfully bidding for the first auction item," Lin Feng said indifferently. At this moment, Yuan Huaqing regained his senses. He had actually spent 25 million immortal stones to bid for an item that was originally worth 6 million immortal stones. At this moment, Yuan Huaqing regained his senses. When he called out 20 million, there was an 80% chance that Lin Feng didn't want it anymore. That was why he had continued to provoke him. Back then, he had been so angry that he didn't think too much about it. In the end, due to his personal feelings, he became the buyer. As for Lin Feng, although he claimed to be a poor bastard, everyone knew that he was not a poor bastard. He was very rich. "Brat, you dare to trick me?" Yuan Huaqing roared in exasperation. Said Lin Feng, "When did I cheat you? I couldn't compete with you. That's why I gave up. Besides, I admit that you're rich. You're awesome. You're so rich that you can buy a treasure for the same price as 4 other treasures. I admire you." After hearing Lin Feng's mockery, Yuan Huaqing became so furious that he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Holy shit, Yuan Huaqing got screwed over by that brat. That's right. Yuan Huaqing was really screwed over. Now, that item has fallen into his hands. The surrounding cultivators began discussing amongst themselves. Many of them were trying to guess Lin Feng's identity. Everyone was very curious. Who exactly was Lin Feng? He actually dared to trick Yuan Huaqing. Clearly, Lin Feng was not afraid of Yuan Huaqing. If he was afraid of him, he wouldn't have dared to trick him. 25 million, going once. 25 million, going twice. 25 million, going thrice. Sold. Congratulations to the 8th elder of Godly Saber Sect, Yuan Huaqing, for winning the profound divine stone immortal sphere for 25 million immortal stones. Zhuge Xinyu said excitedly. Even though she had presided over auctions for many years, it was extremely rare for an auction item to be sold at such a sky-high price. Chapter 3963. Sir, why do you keep making noises? Are you coughing up blood? Lin Feng asked. The corners of many people's mouths twitched violently. Lin Feng was simply rubbing salt on the wound. Moreover, he was definitely doing it on purpose. He was too black-bellied. Offending a black-bellied person like Lin Feng, they were going to be angered to death. Barf! Yuan Huaqing, who had been deeply provoked by Lin Feng, vomited another mouthful of blood. His aura immediately withered. He almost went berserk. Damn, is he vomiting blood again? If he continues, will he vomit blood and die? If he really vomits blood and dies, it'll be a big mystery. That guy must have been hated by the people of the Divine Blade School. The people of the Divine Blade School will not let him off. Many cultivators began to discuss, but Lin Feng didn't seem to care at all. The auction continued. One by one, the auction items were taken out for auction. However, Lin Feng rarely made a move. Of course, Lin Feng didn't completely stay away from the auction. For example, he bought some extremely precious insect materials that could be used to cultivate his celestial devouring insect queen. Apart from that, Lin Feng had also bought a special kind of spiritual liquid. That kind of spiritual liquid could be used to condense life weapons. It could help Lin Feng condense his 2 natal magic treasures. One by one, the treasures were taken out for auction. This time, the auction house was very well prepared, so there were many good items that were taken out for auction. Many cultivators participated in the fierce competition, and the large factions took away many good items. At this time, Zhuge Xinyu said, "Everyone, the next auction item is something that everyone will be very interested in. This item is the token to enter the Count of Wind secret realm." As soon as Zhuge Xinyu finished speaking, the entire auction house was in an uproar. The Count of Wind was a famous expert in the era of titled gods. Moreover, he was the oldest titled god. It was common knowledge that many titled gods had been passed down for a total of 9 generations. However, the Count of Wind was only passed down for 3 generations. This was because the lifespans of the 3 generations of Wind Count were extremely long. Thus, even though many titled gods had died, the Count of the Wind was still alive. As he had lived for too long, he could imagine how powerful the 3rd Wind Count's cultivation was. As for the 3rd Wind Count, he had collected countless treasures during his long lifespan. The Wind Master Mystic Realm was a mystic realm left behind by the Wind Master. No one knew if there were any treasures the Wind Master had collected, or if there were any inheritances of the Wind Master. But what if there was? It was hard to imagine what he could get from it. At this time, Zhuge Xinyu showed everyone Fengbu's token. It was a small flag. That's the Fengbu banner. To be able to use the Rainmaster banner to find the Rainmaster Mystic Realm. Of course, I would also like to give you a piece of advice. The Fengbu Secret Realm is located in the Starry Sky World. The Starry Sky World is filled with dangers. If you enter it recklessly, you will be in danger of dying. Therefore, it is not suitable for an individual to bid for the Fengbu flag. Zhuge Xinyu continued, "Just tell us the starting price." Someone said impatiently, "The starting price for the Fengbu flag is 300,000 immortal stones. Each bid cannot be lower than 100,000. Zhuge Xinyu said, 400,000, 500,000, 1,000,000, 1,200,000, 1,300,000. The price of the Fengbu flag soared until it reached 2,300,000. The person who called out the price was a grand elder of the Genyu Immortal Sect. That's the Genyu Immortal Sect's soul-subduing sky grand elder. He's also an expert who sealed himself in stone. He hasn't been in the world for very long, but his cultivation is terrifying. Rumor has it that he was an immortal back in the day, right? No, he probably hasn't reached immortality yet, but he probably had 1 foot in the door. But now that countless years have passed, his cultivation must have dropped quite a bit. Many people whispered about the Grand Elder of the Genyu Immortal Sect. Lin Feng heard some of the discussions and sneered. Lin Feng and the Genyu Immortal Sect were now irreconcilable enemies. There was no possibility of reconciliation between the two sides. 3 million. Lin Feng called out a price. The soul-subduing Sky frowned slightly. Then he called out a new price. 4 million. 8 million. Lin Feng continued to raise the price. Holy shit, isn't this guy too fierce? Many people couldn't help but roll their eyes. Isn't that the guy who competed with Yuan Huaqing for the Immortal Sphere? He really screwed Yuan Huaqing over. That's right, it's him. He's really daring. He doubled the price of the item. How ruthless! I wonder if the soul-subduing Sky will follow. The price is so ridiculous. I'm afraid the soul-subduing Sky won't follow, right? Many people began to whisper to each other. Looks like this item belongs to me. 8 million is nothing to me. Old bastard, you think you can compete with me? You think you're worthy? Lin Feng curled his lips. Junior, you're too arrogant. The soul-subduing Sky flew into a rage when he heard Lin Feng's mocking words. Lin Feng actually dared to humiliate him like this. He didn't even put him in his eyes. The soul-subduing Sky was now filled with the desire to kill Lin Feng. 13 million. The soul-subduing Sky continued to raise the price. TSK, this item is mine. Lin Feng snorted coldly and called out another price. 18 million. Amazing! This guy is really rich. I wonder how many immortal stones he has. Many people couldn't help but exclaim. They were deeply shocked by Lin Feng's wealth. Back off. This item belongs to me. It belongs to me, said Lin Feng. The soul-subduing Sky's expression darkened. The price was indeed beyond his expectations. However, when he saw how determined Lin Feng was to get the item, he decided to make a move. The Sky of soul-suppressing darkness decided to trick Lin Feng. 23 million. The soul-subduing Sky sneered. Old man, looks like you really want to compete with me. I have 35 million immortal stones here. Do you think you can compete with me? Lin Feng roared in exasperation. 30 million. Little bastard, I'll make you bankrupt today. The soul-subduing Sky sneered and called out a new price. 34 million. The soul-subduing Sky originally thought that Lin Feng would bid 35 million because Lin Feng had just said that he had 35 million immortal stones. To his surprise, Lin Feng grinned and said, "Congratulations on obtaining the Count of Wind banner for 34 million immortal stones." Damn, what's going on? Chapter 3964. Not long ago, Lin Feng had confidently declared how many immortal stones he had. Moreover, he looked like he would not give up until he obtained the Count of Wind banner. However, in the blink of an eye, he gave up. Everyone knew that the soul-suppressing heaven wanted to trick Lin Feng, but in the end, the soul-suppressing heaven was tricked by Lin Feng. Wait, the situation seemed to be a little strange. This was because everyone realized that the fierce competition between Lin Feng and the soul-suppressing heaven was very likely a trap set by Lin Feng. Lin Feng did not seem like an impulsive person. However, when Lin Feng angrily declared how many immortal stones he had and threatened to obtain the Count of Wind banner, he was actually trying to give people an illusion. This illusion was that he would spend 35 million immortal stones at most to obtain the Count of Wind banner. It was precisely because of this subjective idea that Han Jintian had been competing with Lin Feng until he realized that he had been tricked by Lin Feng. "You set a trap for me." The soul-suppressing heaven had come back to his senses. His voice was filled with endless killing intent. He had actually been tricked by a junior like Lin Feng. This made the soul-suppressing heaven feel humiliated. Now, the soul-suppressing heaven wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Feng apart. Lin Feng said indifferently, "It's a fair competition. It's just that I didn't compete with you." Naturally, no one believed Lin Feng's words. Previously, Lin Feng had tricked Yuan Huaqing once. Now, Lin Feng had tricked the soul, suppressing heaven. This was somewhat unbelievable. This guy had actually tricked two great experts in a row. It was truly a little inconceivable. Could this kid be an imposter? Someone could not help but wonder about Lin Feng's identity. Under normal circumstances, imposters were not allowed to appear in the auction house. This would seriously affect the auction house's reputation. So, under normal circumstances, the auction house would not find someone to be an imposter. However, there was no guarantee that some auction houses would take the risk and find someone to raise the auction price of the items. On both occasions, Lin Feng raised the price to an unimaginable sky-high price. Then he exited. The cultivator, who made the final bid, was cheated by Lin Feng. Everyone felt that Lin Feng might really be a prop hired by the auction house. There is such a possibility. Many people nodded, feeling that this was a possibility. If these cultivators could think of this, then so could the soul suppressing heaven. He also suspected that Lin Feng was an actor. Soul suppressing Sky said in a gloomy voice, "The auction house has gone too far. They actually hired someone to scam us customers. The auction house's actions are shameful, and it's hard for us to believe." The Sky of Soul Suppressing Pagoda only said that because they didn't want to buy the Fengbo banner. However, his words resonated with many people. Yuan Huaqing said with a gloomy expression, "Is the auction house treating us like monkeys? We request a refund." The atmosphere in the auction was so loud that it shook the heavens. Everyone was talking about this matter. If Lin Feng was really an actor, there would be a good show to watch. Zhuge Xinyu, on the other hand, was completely dumbfounded. She had been hosting auctions for so many years. When had she ever encountered such a situation? The situation was completely out of control. No matter what she said, the people below the stage would not listen. Zhuge Xinyu was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. At this moment, an old man walked up to the auction stage and said, "Everyone, I'm afraid you've misunderstood. Our auction house is backed by the imperial family. I guarantee in the name of the imperial family that the fellow Taoist who made the bid is definitely not an actor hired by our auction house. It's President Duguyu." Someone exclaimed, recognizing the identity of the person who had just arrived. The old man was none other than the president of the auction house, Duguyu. Duguyu had another shocking identity. He was a relative of the imperial family. The current king of the divine nation of despair had to address Duguyu as his uncle. After Duguyu stepped forward to clarify the matter, the deafening commotion immediately stopped. Even an expert like Duguyu had personally stepped forward. Even if someone wanted to cause trouble, they had no choice but to behave themselves. Although some people still did not believe Duguyu's words, they no longer dared to refute him. Lin Feng said, "I've already said that I'm not an actor hired by the auction house. You didn't believe me, but you should believe me now, right? Like how we'll believe you?" Many people muttered. Originally, Soul Suppressing Sky and Yuan Huaqing wanted to cause a scene. Perhaps they would be able to give up on the item they had won. However, even Duguyu had stepped forward. They did not say anything else. If they suffered a loss, so be it. It was better than offending the imperial family. "The auction will continue," Duguyu said. Then he walked up to the auction stage and handed it to Zhuge Xinyu. Zhuge Xinyu said, "Supreme Elder of the Hell-Suppressing Immortal Sect, Soul Suppressing Sky's bid has reached 34 million immortal stones. Is there a higher price than 34 million immortal stones?" The crowd fell silent. Only a fool would offer a higher price. 34 million going once, 34 million going twice, 34 million going thrice. Sold. As soon as Zhuge Xinyu's gavel fell, Soul Suppressing Sky won the Fengbo banner. One by one, the auction items were brought up for auction. Not long after, the Abyss Source Energy was brought up. The Abyss Source Energy was sealed in a small porcelain bottle. This was a supreme treasure that could directly increase one's cultivation, causing many people to become extremely excited. There's no need to explain the use of the Abyss Source Energy. This thing has unimaginable miraculous effects for cultivators who are stuck at cultivation bottlenecks. Zhuge Sinyu's voice was gentle and enticing. What's the starting bid for the Abyss Source Energy? Many people asked. Everyone could not wait to fight for the Abyss Source Energy. The starting bid is 500,000 immortal stones. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 immortal stones. Now, let the auction begin. Zhuge Sinyu said with a smile. She knew the value of the Abyss Source Energy, so she believed that it would fetch a sky-high price. Just as Zhuge Sinyu's voice fell, a voice resounded in the auction hall. 500,000. The person who called out this price was none other than Lin Feng. He directly called out the starting bid for the Abyss Source Energy. Many cultivators who wanted to participate in the auction saw that Lin Feng was the first to bid for the Abyss Source Energy. Those cultivators were completely stunned. Yuan Huaqing and Soul-Suppressing Sky had almost been scammed to death by Lin Feng. These things that could make people so depressed that they wanted to die had happened not too long ago. Therefore, when Lin Feng came out to bid again, everyone couldn't help but mutter in their hearts. Was this guy trying to scam them again? Therefore, Chapter 3965. Everyone, the auction for the Abyss Source Energy has begun. Everyone, you can start bidding now. Seeing that no one else was bidding except for Lin Feng's starting bid, Zhuge Sinyu grew anxious. She reminded everyone to participate in the bidding. However, no one paid any attention to Zhuge Sinyu. Still, no one participated in the bidding. Everyone, are you not interested in the Abyss Source Energy? Zhuge Sinyu asked. Everyone was naturally interested in the source energy. However, no one wanted to be cheated. Many people were certain that Lin Feng was hired by the auction house. Rather than being cheated, it was better not to participate in the bidding. Let the source energy fall into the hands of the auction house. Therefore, no matter how Zhuge Sinyu tried to persuade everyone, no one participated in the bidding. Lin Feng said, Fairy, since no one wants to compete with me, shouldn't we finalize the auction? Zhuge Sinyu was very unwilling, but there was nothing she could do. 500,000 going once, 500,000 going twice, 500,000 going thrice. Sold. In the end, Lin Feng won the Abyss Source Energy for a mere 500,000 immortal stones. This saved Lin Feng a lot of immortal stones. Originally, Lin Feng was worried that he would spend too many immortal stones to buy the source energy. If that was the case, it would be too much of a scam. Fortunately, this situation did not happen. Before long, someone brought the source energy over. Lin Feng paid 500,000 immortal stones. The source energy was now Lin Feng's. Good stuff. This is really good stuff. Can I break through to the Emperor realm? I'll have to rely on this treasure. Lin Feng looked at the original strength of the abyss happily. He did not plan to stay any longer. Lin Feng planned to leave the city as soon as possible. Then he would find a place to refine the source energy and break through to the Emperor realm. Lin Feng left the auction house. When Lin Feng left, many others also left the auction house. For example, it was the supreme elder of the Genyu Immortal sect, Soul-Suppressing Tian. For example, the 8th elder of the Godly Knife clan, Yuan Huaqing. Previously, Lin Feng had tricked these two fellows, so they hated Lin Feng. After seeing Lin Feng leave the auction house, he immediately chased after Lin Feng. Other than them, there were also some other experts. For example, Tai Dao Honorable Lord's trusted subordinate, Tu Shun. He was also in the auction house and immediately looked at Lin Feng. Now, he had also followed them out. Tu Shun had come to deal with Lin Feng under the orders of Tai Dao Honorable Lord. In his eyes, Lin Feng was no different from a dead man. In addition, there were also experts from the evil spirit sect who had locked onto Lin Feng. The evil spirit sect was a powerful sect. They had found Lin Feng and had followed him all the way here. However, this was Stone Golem City, the territory of the royal family. The president of the auction house, Du Guyu, also led a group of people to chase after Lin Feng. Du Guyu was the eldest princess's man. The eldest princess had always wanted to kill Lin Feng, but she was very sinister. On the surface, she was friendly with Lin Feng, but in private, she sent Du Guyu to kill Lin Feng. Some terrifying creatures also walked out of the endless ghost sand. These terrifying creatures included the blood-haired woman that Lin Feng had seen before. Other than the blood-haired woman, there was also the son of the Eastern Emperor, Huangfu Qingtian. If Lin Feng saw Huangfu Qingtian, he would definitely be shocked. Huangfu Qingtian had also been swallowed by the Eastern Emperor Bel. Lin Feng originally thought that Huangfu Qingtian was already dead. Now, it seemed that not only was Huangfu Qingtian not dead, but he was also mixed up with the terrifying existences in the endless ghost sand. He didn't know how Huangfu Qingtian got together with these people. So many powerful existences appeared together to chase after Lin Feng. Lin Feng rushed out of the city. Suddenly, the void split open. A withered old man flew out of the void and charged at Lin Feng. Lin Feng reacted quickly enough. He turned around and slapped out with his palm. Bang! Lin Feng and the withered old man collided. Then he saw his hand turn black. He'd been poisoned. He hurriedly communicated with the white jade toad and asked it to suck the poison out of his body. Lin Feng finally got a good look at the withered old man's face. It was a divine servant. No, it was Judas. It was that old fart. Back on the Martial Sky Continent, he'd saved Luotian from Juin. Judas, that old fart, had fled without a trace. He hadn't expected to run into Judas here. Kid, it's time for you to die. Judas glared at Lin Feng with a venomous glare. Lin Feng frowned. Judas, that old fart, was very strange. Lin Feng remembered that Judas had been on the verge of death. It stood to reason that even if the old fart had lived to this day, his cultivation should have been much weaker. But Judas was much stronger than he had been back on the Martial Sky Continent. It seemed that the old fart had come across some amazing opportunity. Otherwise, there was no way he could have become so powerful. You can't do anything to me, you old fart. Today, I'll finish you once and for all. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Kiki kid, I've already spread the news about you. You're surrounded. Judas cackled sinisterly. Lin Feng looked around. Then, they saw experts coming from all directions. Lin Feng even saw Huangfu Qingtian. This guy really is a centipede. Even after being swallowed by the Donghuang Bell, it didn't kill him. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. That old bastard, Zhu Yin, had always been with Lin Feng. He had always found Lin Feng's whereabouts, and he had always found Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression was gloomy. He knew that leaving the city would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. With so many experts gathered here to deal with him, it was going to be troublesome. Lin Feng quickly made up his mind. He planned to go deeper into Golem City, because deep within Golem City was a very special place. It was an ancient ruin, but no one dared to approach it, because even after countless years, the ruins were still densely covered with extremely terrifying restrictions. Trespassing into that area was likely to lead to death. Lin Feng wanted to go to the ruins and break through to the D ancestor layer there. Perhaps he could borrow the power of the tribulation to deal with these people. Chapter 3966. Quick, stop that kid. Many people shouted, wanting the cultivators closer to Lin Feng to stop Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng was too fast. No one could stop Lin Feng. Soon, Lin Feng broke out of the encirclement and quickly flew toward the depths of Stone Golem City. Chase! The experts from the various factions shouted one after another. Their expressions were gloomy and their eyes flashed with cold light. They increased their speed to the limit and chased after Lin Feng. What's going on? Many people were puzzled. They didn't understand what was going on. Why were there so many experts moving? They seemed to be chasing someone. Someone said they had just seen Lin Feng break out of the encirclement. So many experts are chasing after that young cultivator. Someone else asked. He found it unbelievable. How could a young cultivator like Lin Feng be worth so many experts chasing after Lin Feng? Anyone would think that this matter was inconceivable, but it was indeed the truth, and everyone had to believe it. Stone Golem City was huge. Even with Lin Feng's speed, it took him 2 hours to reach the ruins. The ancient city was shrouded in restrictions. If it weren't for the powerful restrictions above, Lin Feng would have left long ago. Now, he could only hide in the ruins. The ruins in the depths of Stone Golem City were huge. It used to be a continuous chain of palaces, but now it was in ruins. Powerful restrictions shrouded it, and its destructive power was great. After arriving there, Lin Feng quickly flew into the depths of the forest. All kinds of powerful restrictions seemed to have their own spirituality, and they all attacked Lin Feng. Lin Feng's skill in formations was extremely high. Therefore, when those powerful restrictions attacked him, Lin Feng's expression was cold. He moved freely through the large formations. Soon, he rushed into the depths of the ruins. The experts chasing after Lin Feng stopped outside the ruins. They didn't rashly enter. All of them looked inside with gloomy expressions. I wonder if there's a teleportation array that leads to the outside world. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Dubiu said in a deep voice, Go in and take a look. Although this place was dangerous, but with our cultivation base, there is no need to worry at all. Tushin sneered. Huang Fu Qingtian nodded and said, Exactly. He had to act quickly. I know Lin Feng too well. He is a person with great fortune. Once he is given a chance to breathe, he can often resolve a crisis. We can't give him any chance to breathe. Very quickly, these powerhouses came to an agreement and decided to attack Lin Feng. Therefore, these experts joined forces and entered the ruins. All kinds of powerful restriction spells bombarded these experts. If he could avoid these restrictions, they would try their best to avoid the attacks of the restrictions. If they couldn't avoid these restrictions, these experts would join forces to fight against the restrictions. They also headed towards the depths. Lin Feng looked in shock at a huge stone statue in the depths. It was 100 meters tall and depicted a valiant man. But now, the stone statue's head had been cut off with a sword, leaving only the body. The head fell beside the body. Is this a stone statue, or is it just an ordinary stone statue? Lin Feng frowned. He sensed that the stone statue was extraordinary. Even after countless years, it still seemed to have divine power lingering around it. If it were someone else, it might be difficult to sense the divine power in the stone statue, but Lin Feng's senses were too sharp. Even if the divine power was weak, it couldn't hide from him. Lin Feng withdrew his gaze. The stone statue had been destroyed. His top priority now was to break through to the Emperor realm. Lin Feng took out the abyss origin and devoured it. Then he began to burn the immortal stones. Mountains of immortal stones burned and were refined with majestic energy. The majestic energy within the immortal stones flowed endlessly into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng circulated the archaic dragonesque elephant art, absorbing the abyss origin's energy with all his might. When all of the abyss origin's energy was absorbed by Lin Feng felt as if the barrier to the Emperor realm was about to be broken. Magic power surged from his body like a great river, constantly attacking the barrier to the Emperor realm. At the same time, tribulation light shot out from Lin Feng's forehead, shooting up into the heavens. Finally, I'm about to break through. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. Rumble! Above the heavens, thunderclouds surged as a powerful lightning tribulation was brewing. The group of cultivators who wanted to kill Lin Feng had already seen Lin Feng sitting cross-legged on the stone statue. They'd originally planned to quickly approach Lin Feng and kill him, but now Lin Feng's lightning tribulation was brewing. Many people's expressions immediately turned ugly. "Hurry up and leave this place," the son of the Donghuang said grimly. They were in the center of Lin Feng's tribulation. If they didn't leave in time when Lin Feng's tribulation descended, it would be a terrifying thing. Some people's tribulations might be drawn down prematurely. Just think about it. If they didn't prepare well enough and their own tribulation was drawn down, death would be the only thing awaiting them. Even if their own tribulation wasn't drawn down, no one would be willing to face the lightning tribulation. It was simply too terrifying. No matter who it was, even if they didn't die, they'd lose a layer of skin. What they didn't know was that Lin Feng's tribulation was far more terrifying than they'd imagined. One had to know that Lin Feng had summoned the great immortal Tao tribulation as soon as he'd broken through to Emperor realm. It was a tribulation that many didn't necessarily face when they ascended to immortality. Moreover, Lin Feng was about to break through to Emperor realm. The tribulation he'd summon would be even more terrifying. "We can't leave." Lin Feng looked impassively at the cultivators who were frantically fleeing outside. These people were the strongest of the strongest, the strongest of the strongest. With so many of them surrounding Lin Feng, it shouldn't have been a problem for them to kill Lin Feng. However, they'd chosen the wrong time to attack. They'd chosen to attack when Lin Feng was about to break through. One had to admit that these fellows were really unlucky. Lin Feng shot into the sky and chased after the cultivators. Boom! At that moment, Lin Feng's first bolt of Culpa lightning descended. That lightning tribulation was actually a lightning mountain that was 10,000 meters tall. It was truly shocking. Wherever Lin Feng flew, the lightning mountain would follow. "Hurry up and scatter." When the cultivators saw Lin Feng coming after them, they shrieked in horror and scattered in all directions. Lin Feng sneered. Did they think they could just scatter? He could kill them one by one. Chapter 3967. "Kid, let's talk this out. Let me go. I promise I won't bother you again." Judas screamed at the top of his lungs. His eyes were filled with terror. Lin Feng suddenly realized something was wrong. Judas was far more afraid of the lightning tribulation than the others. He thought back to when Judas was a dying old man about to be buried at any moment. Now he looked at the man. Lin Feng thought of a possibility. Judas. Perhaps for some reason, it would be completely restrained by the lightning tribulation. Perhaps that was why he was so afraid of it. How could Lin Feng let Judas go so easily? Lin Feng thought back to the many times he'd been exposed to his enemies. It had to be that bastard's doing. This time was no different. Lin Feng didn't know why Judas was always able to find him, but Lin Feng didn't need to know that now. He just needed to kill Judas, once and for all. Lin Feng's face filled with murderous intent. "Go to hell. Lin Feng smirked. He rushed in front of Judas, and the first bolt of lightning came crashing down. Actually, the first bolt of Culpa lightning was relatively weak. When the first bolt of Culpa lightning struck Lin Feng was safe and sound. Judas, on the other hand, was suffering. The power of the tribulation drilled into his body. Judas screamed in agony as his body began to dismember. It didn't take long for Judas' body to explode into a puff of smoke. He was dead. Judas was dead, just like that. His death was too simple. Lin Feng couldn't believe it. The old bastard was dead, just like that. Run, run, run. When the others saw that Lin Feng's Culpa lightning had killed Judas, they all sped up. They wanted to escape, but Lin Feng activated the deployment spell. The heaven-seizing array, recorded in the Stone Emperor's scripture, was incredibly powerful. Once the heaven-seizing array's power was unleashed, Lin Feng could take control of any array. Lin Feng took control of the barriers in the ruins. Lin Feng used them to seal off the area. Then it blocked off everyone, making it impossible for them to escape. After destroying Judas, Lin Feng rushed toward Butcher God. Lin Feng didn't know him, but his aura was familiar. The black-robed clan, the epic survivors. It looked like they'd come for slaughter. The black-robed clan, Butcher God. Sooner or later, I'll destroy them. Lin Feng's mind. When Tushin saw that he couldn't dodge Lin Feng's attack, his eyes were filled with murder. He threw himself at Lin Feng. Humph! A cold voice suddenly sounded. Lin Feng attacked Tushin with Culpa strength. The second Culpa strength was a star. Tribulation star. Descending. Lin Feng used his physical body to resist the Culpa strength. He had always used his physical body to resist the Culpa strength. He used the Culpa strength to refine his physical body until his physical body couldn't withstand the Culpa strength anymore. When he couldn't withstand it, he used his magic and divine abilities to resist the lightning. Butcher God had no choice but to fight back. He didn't have the energy to deal with Lin Feng. Boom, 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 boom. More than 100 bolts of lightning came crashing down. Butcher God was exhausted. Lin Feng found a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He summoned the 4 stone swords. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 4 stone swords became 4 beams of light. They tore through the void. They slashed at Butcher God. They moved as fast as lightning. They reached Butcher God in an instant. Not good. The stone swords. Butcher God's face turned ugly. The power of the stone swords was too frightening. If it was any other magic treasure, Tushin was confident that he would be able to withstand the attacks of those magic treasures. But against the stone swords, Butcher God didn't have any confidence. The stone swords were different from other treasures. To the lost races of the epic, the stone swords were too lethal. However, Butcher God wasn't someone who would sit and wait for death. Facing the stone swords, he waved his hand, and a world of darkness appeared. The world of darkness enveloped the 4 stone swords. Butcher God. He wanted to use the world of darkness to devour Lin Feng's stone swords. Butcher God failed. The 4 stone swords pierced through the world of darkness and pierced Butcher God's body. I can't accept this. I can't believe I'm going to die like this. Butcher God roared, unwilling to die like this. But what was done couldn't be undone. The others looked at Lin Feng in fear. They quickly broke the array. Lin Feng began to reap their lives. Soon, the people from the Godly Knife sect, the hell-suppressing immortal sect, and the emperor-level expert Yuan Huaqing were all killed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't care about their pleas. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have done it. Little friend Lin, this is all a misunderstanding. Let's take a step back and everything will be fine, Duguyu looked at Lin Feng and said with an ugly expression, "All of you deserve to die." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he charged at Duguyu and the others. "I'm a member of the imperial family. If you dare to kill me, you'll offend the imperial family. Then you'll offend the imperial family." Duguyu shouted. He wanted to use the imperial family's identity to scare Lin Feng away. But Lin Feng wasn't threatened by Duguyu at all. "So, what if you're from the imperial family? You think you're amazing? I'll kill you all the same." Soon, Duguyu and the others were also killed by Lin Feng. Next, Lin Feng's gaze locked onto the experts from the evil spirit sect. Not long after, the experts from the evil spirit sect were also killed by Lin Feng. Finally, Lin Feng locked onto the group of terrifying existences from the endless ghost sand. They were the strongest. They weren't easy to deal with, and it would take a long time to deal with them. So, Lin Feng dealt with the rest first. The last person to deal with the endless ghost sand, especially Huangfu Qingtian, had to die. At this moment, countless spectators had gathered outside the ruins. When they saw the situation, their faces were filled with shock. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. There were so many experts. There were even many emperor-level experts, but they were all killed by Lin Feng. It was simply too shocking. Who the hell is that kid? Isn't he a little too savage? Yeah, he's so terrifying at such a young age. It's unbelievable. Those major powers have suffered too many losses. I wonder if the last batch of cultivators will also die at that kid's hands. Chapter 3968. Now, it's your turn. Lin Feng's cold voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. Thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and blotted the earth smashed down. Lin Feng rushed towards those living creatures in the vast ghost sand, who said that the creatures in the endless ghost sand couldn't die. If the creatures in the endless ghost sand were to endure an attack that was too terrifying, they would be killed. Only death awaited them. Just like now, the living beings in the endless ghost sand were attacked by the lightning tribulation and Lin Feng. One after another, they were reduced to ashes. Lin Feng looked at Huangfu Qingtian and sneered. "Huangfu Qingtian, you've been jumping around for so long. Now, it's time to send you on your way." Huangfu Qingtian's expression was extremely unsightly. Before he met Lin Feng, he was a proud son of heaven who was respected by countless people. However, after meeting Lin Feng, he had become a loser in the eyes of others. This was simply unacceptable to Huangfu Qingtian. Huangfu Qingtian was filled with hatred. Simply, his hatred reached the heavens. Huangfu Qingtian had always wanted to trample Lin Feng under his feet, but now it seemed like he was going to fail again. Instead, it was very likely that he would die at the hands of Lin Feng once again. If he died again, the soul reconstruction art would not be able to create another Huangfu Qingtian. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" Lin Feng roared. He was like an invincible thunder god. Endless lightning surrounded Lin Feng. The battle lasted for 2 hours, except for the son of the East Emperor, the blood-haired woman, and Huangfu Qingtian. All the other living beings in the boundless ghost sand were killed. Lin Feng began to attack Donghuang's son, the blood-haired woman, and Huangfu Qingtian with all his strength. Each wave of terrifying attacks was stronger than the previous one. All kinds of destructive lightning tribulations struck down. The power was simply shocking. However, Huangfu Qingtian, the son of Emperor Donghuang, and the blood-haired woman had extraordinary means. The battle lasted for 3 days. Lin Feng was actually unable to exterminate them. Lin Feng's lightning tribulation was getting stronger and stronger. After another 3 days, Huangfu Qingtian, the son of the Eastern monarch, finally couldn't hold on any longer. They were very unwilling. But what was the point? No matter how unwilling he was, now, he could only die. Lin Feng was planning to get rid of these people in one go. However, at this moment there was a sudden change. An immortal bell appeared in the void. It was actually the Donghuang bell. The Eastern Emperor bell sucked the Eastern Emperor's son, the crimson-haired woman, and Huangfu Qingtian into it. Then he wanted to leave quickly. "I'll kill you!" Lin Feng roared, controlling the lightning tribulation to attack the Eastern Emperor bell. Clang! 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 Streaks of terrifying lightning tribulation struck the Eastern Emperor bell. Suddenly, a deafening sound was heard. The power of the lightning tribulation could hardly harm the Donghuang bell. The Eastern Emperor bell vibrated slightly, sending Lin Feng flying. However, the Eastern Emperor bell didn't continue to stay there, probably afraid of the lightning tribulation. Therefore, the Eastern Emperor bell tore open the void again and quickly left. That seems to be the Eastern Emperor bell. Damn, it's actually that supreme treasure. Did the Eastern Emperor bell turn into a weapon cultivator? It should be. This is unbelievable. I didn't expect it to turn into a weapon cultivator. Around, countless cultivators. Discussions were everywhere. Some went after the Eastern Emperor bell, but more people didn't do so. If the Eastern Emperor bell turned into a weapon cultivator, wouldn't they be courting death if they tried to steal it? If it didn't turn into a weapon cultivator, there would probably be a powerful cultivator controlling it. It would be very difficult to snatch the Eastern Emperor bell from someone else. Most of them were still watching Lin Feng's tribulation from the periphery. Many of them even planned to attack Lin Feng because they thought that Lin Feng would be extremely weak after the tribulation. At that time, it would be a great opportunity to kill Lin Feng. If he missed this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it would not be easy to find such a good opportunity again. Therefore, these people, they wanted to wait for Lin Feng to finish his tribulation before making a move on Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally knew that some of them were plotting against him, but he didn't care. If they weren't afraid of death, they could come at him. Just watch how yours truly would kill them. Lightning tribulation descended one after another. Lin Feng used all sorts of methods, such as the Great Calamity Art, which was one of the 3,000 great Daos. When used during the tribulation, it had a miraculous effect. All sorts of lightning tribulations were neutralized by Lin Feng's Great Calamity Art. Lin Feng's tribulation lasted for more than half a month, which shocked everyone. What kind of tribulation was this? Why did it take so long? Even the immortal tribulation couldn't reach this level, right? How many tribulations has this guy gone through? Someone asked. 180,000 tribulations. Someone said, "My God, this is sick. His tribulation doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. I wonder how many lightning tribulations he'll have to go through. Is this guy already so heaven-defying? He's so young, and even the heavenly Tao can't tolerate him. It's hard to imagine what heights he'll reach if he continues to grow smoothly." Someone exclaimed in surprise, feeling deeply shaken. It was no wonder that they were so shocked. After all, not everyone had seen such a terrifying lightning tribulation before. "Demon Lord, how many lightning tribulations do I have to go through before I can succeed?" Lin Feng asked gloomily. This lightning tribulation was too sick. He felt that his magic power couldn't keep up anymore. "Your tribulation should be the lesser god tribulation. This tribulation, it's much stronger than the great heavenly Tao tribulation. There's a total of 210,000 lightning tribulations. I estimate it'll take some time." Demon Lord said. "Damn, this lightning tribulation is sick," Lin Feng wailed. Later, the lightning tribulations became more and more terrifying, especially the last few dozen lightning tribulations. Lin Feng's body couldn't take it anymore. His body was blasted into pieces several times, dripping with blood. At one point, Lin Feng even felt the aura of death enveloping his body. He thought that he would die under the lightning tribulation. However, at the most dangerous moment, Lin Feng had successfully used the rising from the ashes technique. In the end, he was reborn again and escaped the tribulation. Lin Feng's blood splattered across the sky. The world was filled with the smell of blood. Lightning tribulations continued to descend. Lin Feng narrowly escaped death. After going through many dangers, he finally managed to withstand all the lightning tribulations. Lin Feng's cultivation realm had successfully broken through to the D Master Realm. However, this breakthrough was too difficult. After the breakthrough, Lin Feng could feel his strength increasing by leaps and bounds. However, what he felt the most was not the increase in strength. It was exhaustion, incomparable exhaustion. He lay down on the stone statue to rest. Right at this moment, the stone statue actually began to move. Lin Feng was shocked. Why did the stone statue move? He soared into the sky, wanting to leave the stone statue as soon as possible. However, it was too late. Chapter 3969. Oh my God, look! The stone statue has actually come back to life. What's going on? Why did the stone statue come back to life? The stone statue caught that kid. Many people cried out in alarm. The sudden turn of events had clearly shocked everyone. Open! Lin Feng struggled, trying to break free from the stone statue's hand. Little guy, the stone statue's head on the ground, actually spoke, directly calling Lin Feng, little guy. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. How did this guy come back to life? Now that he was caught by this guy, he really wanted to cry, but had no tears. Big brother, great God, great immortal. We've done this in the past, but we don't have any grudges now. Please let me go, Lin Feng begged. The stone statue ignored Lin Feng's pleas. It grabbed Lin Feng with one hand and the head on the ground with the other. Then, that hand put the head back on its neck. At that moment, something shocking happened. Streaks of stone light surged out. Within the stone light, numerous mysterious runes appeared. These mysterious runes fused with the stone statue's neck. Finally, the stone statue's neck and body were perfectly connected. Now, it was impossible to tell that the stone statue's neck had been cut off in the past. The stone statue then tore open the void and quickly left, arriving at the forest outside. The stone statue grabbed Lin Feng and ran madly through the forest. Lin Feng didn't sense any killing intent from the stone statue. No, it should be said that Lin Feng didn't sense any killing intent from the stone statue. The stone statue shouldn't be harmful to him. However, the stone statue still didn't let him go. This made Lin Feng rather depressed. He didn't know what the stone statue was planning. Lin Feng said, "Big brother stone statue, hurry up and put me down. I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now." The stone statue placed Lin Feng on its shoulder and continued running madly through the forest. "Where are you going?" Lin Feng asked. "I want to see an old friend. Countless years have passed. I wonder if she's still here." The stone statue said. Lin Feng continued running. He was still running wildly and didn't stop. 3 days later, the golem came to an ancient primitive forest. This primitive forest was shrouded in mist. This was a fog that didn't dissipate all year round. It would never dissipate. "What is this place?" Lin Feng asked. "Dream Cloud Forest." The stone statue said. "Damn, so this is the place. Isn't this Lady Whitesnake's nest?" Lin Feng couldn't help but murmur. Miss Whitesnake was imprisoned in the Gourd of Good Fortune. "He's a prisoner of mine." "Lin." The stone statue. Lin Feng asked, "How did you come back to life?" I didn't sense any life aura earlier. This was something that Lin Feng was puzzled about. He had indeed sensed a trace of divine power from the stone statue's incomplete body. However, he hadn't sensed any life force. If there wasn't any life force, the stone statue shouldn't have been able to come back to life. However, the stone statue had come back to life. Actually, I still have one last strand of life force left. It's hidden in the remnant divine light in my body. That strand of life force is too weak, so ordinary people can't sense it at all. It's your blood that fused with my body. Then it was absorbed by the weak life force in my body. That's how I woke up and came back to life. The stone statue said. Lin Feng finally understood why the stone statue didn't have any ill intentions towards him. So that was the reason. In that case, he was the stone statue's savior. By the way, who cut off your head? Lin Feng asked curiously. The stone statue should have been extremely powerful in the past. An existence that could cut off his head was definitely an unimaginably terrifying existence. Therefore, Lin Feng was very curious about that existence. The stone statue said, "It's better if I don't tell you. If I tell you, it won't do you any good." Hearing this, Lin Feng smiled bitterly. The stone statue's words were very tactful. What he wanted to say was, "You're not strong enough. Knowing this would only harm you. Strength, strength." Although he had broken through to the Emperor realm, Lin Feng knew that there was still a long way to go. The path of cultivation was still very long. As they went deeper into the forest, more and more terrifying beasts appeared. However, none of them dared to approach the stone statue. When they sensed the stone statue's aura, they all fled in fear. 5 days later, the stone statue arrived at the depths of Dreamy Cloud Forest. Here, there was a divine temple. This divine temple was already in ruins. The stone statue stood outside the divine temple. Lin Feng jumped down from the stone statue's shoulder. Then, Lin Feng slipped into the divine temple. He wanted to see what was inside the divine temple. After entering the divine temple, Lin Feng did not find any precious treasures. However, Lin Feng saw a broken statue. This place worshipped a goddess. Lin Feng tried to search for clues to see who this goddess was, but he did not find anything. However, Lin Feng knew that this goddess should be the old friend that the stone statue mentioned. At night, Lin Feng set up a bonfire in front of the divine temple and roasted some dragon meat. Good wine paired with dragon meat. It was truly a great enjoyment in life. The stone statue sat at the side and watched Lin Feng enjoy the food. "What era are you from?" Lin Feng asked. "Chaotic era." The stone statue said. "What era is the chaotic era?" Lin Feng could not help but ask. In this era, 3,000 great eras had already passed, and Lin Feng had only heard of a small portion of them. For example, the absolute beginning, the immortal ancient, the immemorial era, and so on. Most of the eras were unheard of. The chaotic era is the first great era after the end of the era of the titled gods. The stone statue said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was shocked. The era of the titled gods did not refer to just one era. It referred to the great eras between the appearance of the investiture of the gods and the great war between the Scientian life forms. Lin Feng remembered, after the great war between the Scientian life forms, although the great powers suffered heavy losses, their orthodoxies still existed. After the great war between the Scientian life forms, the era of the titled gods ended. Before the immortal ancient era began, no one knew what happened. It caused countless experts to fall and countless orthodoxies to disappear. History was stopped, and many things became mysteries. The cultivation system collapsed. Chapter 3970. That period of time was destined to be a mystery to the later generations. It was difficult to find out, but perhaps they could obtain some specific information from the stone man. Why? Why did the orthodoxy collapse? So many powers had vanished, and so many experts had died. What had happened? The era of chaos. Did something particularly important happen? For example, the destruction of countless powers? Lin Feng asked the stone man. The stone man said, "Indeed, something like that happened." The stone man seemed to be reminiscing. "I still remember clearly that after that calamity, the era of sentient life forms ended. The various powers and the surviving experts began to recuperate. But who would have thought that something terrifying would happen?" "What happened?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "Many experts have disappeared without a trace. No one knows how they disappeared. This matter caused a huge panic. Then, many forces sent people to investigate this matter, but no one found any clues. And more people went missing. When the top-notch experts went missing, the experts of the same level went missing one after another. And so on and so forth. As more and more experts went missing, the orthodoxy's legacy was severed. The strangest thing was that it wasn't just the experts who went missing. The scrolls and scriptures of the various powers that recorded the orthodoxy's legacy also went missing. It's really strange." After hearing the stone man's explanation, Lin Feng couldn't help but be deeply shocked. This was too inconceivable, wasn't it? No one knew how those existences had gone missing, but those terrifying existences were disappearing one after another. This was enough to explain a lot of things. "What do you think is going on?" Lin Feng asked. "There's a mysterious power behind all of this. That's why the experts of the various worlds are disappearing," said the stone man. Indeed, this was similar to what Lin Feng had thought. Lin Feng felt that there might be a pair of dark hands behind all of this, but that pair of dark hands was too powerful. They didn't leave behind any clues. But the key point was, how did those fellows disappear? Thinking about it now, he was puzzled. "Back then, where were you?" Lin Feng asked. "I've gone into hiding. There are also people like me who have gone into hiding, hoping to avoid this calamity." The stone man said, "But in the end, you still suffered." Lin Feng said, "Yes." The golem nodded. "Does your calamity have anything to do with the mastermind?" Lin Feng asked. "I don't think so." The stone man shook his head. In other words, the stone man did not die at the hands of the mastermind. Someone else had killed the golem. But the golem was extremely wary of these existences, so it didn't tell Lin Feng their identities. Is this how the orthodoxy collapses? Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. "That's right. That's how the orthodoxy collapsed," the stone man said. Lin Feng said, "The mastermind might be the existence that destroyed the epoch." "That's right. The traitors, the otherworldly beings, and the lost races of the epoch are just pawns for the mastermind. Actually, perhaps in the eyes of the mastermind, those fellows are no different from us. They are all targets that they want to destroy." The stone man continued, "What do you think the mastermind might be? An unknown ancient power? Or some heavenly Tao laws? Or something else that we can't understand?" Lin Feng asked, "I can't guess who the mastermind is. It's hard to say if there's a mastermind because even if there's a mastermind, we guessed it ourselves. No one has seen the so-called mastermind." The stone man said. Indeed, it was as the stone man had said. No one had seen the mastermind. Everything was based on guesses. But some things couldn't be guessed. There had to be evidence. Lin Feng wanted to say something, but the stone man suddenly stood up. He looked into the distance and said in a deep voice, "We have to separate. Thank you for saving me. Don't stay here any longer. Leave this place quickly." As soon as he finished speaking, the stone man soared into the sky and quickly flew into the distance. His speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng didn't dare to stay. He quickly soared into the sky and flew in the direction of the dark forest. He's very nervous. He seems to have sensed something, but I didn't sense anything, Lin Feng muttered to himself. Then he frowned, because just now the stone man's expression before he left was too solemn. He's already dead. He shouldn't exist in this world. Even if he defies the heavens and returns, I'm afraid he'll have to experience some terrifying things. Whether he can survive or not will depend on his luck, the demon lord said. You know something? Lin Feng asked. The demon lord was silent and didn't say anything else. Lin Feng knew that the demon lord was afraid and didn't want to say more. With the appearance of the five decay of heaven and man, all kinds of monsters and monsters have appeared. The myriad worlds are becoming more and more chaotic. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. The appearance of the five decay of heaven and man. It meant that the apocalypse had arrived. Before the apocalypse, many terrifying existences would not come out in order to extend their lifespan. Instead, they would choose to sleep or seal themselves. This way, they could live longer. But now that the apocalypse had arrived, how could they care so much? One terrifying creature after another appeared, wantonly plundering resources, magic treasure, and so on, wanting to increase their own savings. This way, they could better deal with the apocalypse war. 3 months later, Lin Feng secretly returned to the dark forest to meet up with the Bai sisters. Seeing that Lin Feng had returned, the Bai sisters were very happy. They could finally relax. Previously, they had been worried about Lin Feng. Lin Feng sent someone to inform the Emperor Juyin, asking the Emperor Juyin to meet him. Not long after, the Emperor Juyin arrived. I asked you to recruit troops. How's it going? Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Juyin and asked, seeing Lin Feng again. The Emperor Juyin felt that this young master of his seemed to be even more unfathomable. This feeling caused his mind to involuntarily tremble slightly. The Emperor Juyin hurriedly said, reporting to Master, previously, when we went to the Demon Emperor's secret realm, many sage emperors fell in the dark forest. Chapter 3971. Lin Feng could not help but raise his eyebrows slightly. The ancient gloomy forest was indeed powerful. Previously, when he went to the Demon Emperor's secret realm, so many sage emperors had died. Now, there were still so many sage emperors. Lin Feng could not help but feel shocked. Lin Feng asked, how many of these 120 sage emperors did you recruit? Emperor Juyin said, this subordinate is incompetent. I only recruited 30 of them. Lin Feng said, you can't be blamed for this. After all, most of these beast cultivators don't like to be restrained by anything. Lin Feng then asked, how many sage emperors do you have under you? Reporting to Master, this subordinate still has 25 sage emperors under me. If that's the case, there are 55 sage emperors in total. Lin Feng nodded in satisfaction. Now, Lin Feng had Emperor Juyin and the three-headed viper as his subordinates. 55 sage emperors, in addition to his own powerful battle prowess, was an extremely terrifying force. Go and gather everyone. 3 days later, I will go and meet those people. Lin Feng said, yes, this subordinate will do it right away. Emperor Juyin hurriedly said after receiving the order. The current Lin Feng made him feel incomparable reverence. He did not dare to say no to Lin Feng's orders. Nine-Eyed Emperor Palace. A large group of sage emperors had been gathered by Emperor Juyin. The cultivators who had originally submitted to Emperor Juyin were more obedient. Most of them were quieter. However, the The beast cultivators, who had recently been recruited by Emperor Juyin, were all shouting loudly. They wanted to know why the nine-eyed Emperor Lord had gathered them here. These people had all submitted to Emperor Juyin after being promised great benefits by Emperor Juyin. If one were to say that they were extremely loyal to Emperor Juyin, that was an unrealistic thing. Even if they said it out loud, no one would believe them. Where did Lord Emperor Juyin go? Why did he gather us but not show himself? What is the meaning of this? We are very busy. Everyone has many things to deal with. At this moment, a beast cultivator said with some dissatisfaction. This beast cultivator was an 8-winged lion that was half a step into the Emperor realm. It could break through to the Emperor realm at any time. Therefore, towards Emperor Juyin, he did not respect Emperor Juyin. Emperor Juyin's younger brother, a sage Emperor Juyin, was a sage emperor expert. This person called himself the Nine-Eyes Demon Sage. He said coldly, 8-winged demonic lion, don't forget your status. Since Elder Summon Big Brother summoned you, all you have to do is to wait patiently. Humph, Nine-Eyed Beast Saint. If it weren't for Lord Emperor Juyin, I would have torn you to pieces if you dared to speak to me in such a tone. The 8-winged lion immediately revealed a ferocious and terrifying expression. His eyes were incomparably cold as he looked at the Nine-Eyed Beast Saint coldly. You are too arrogant. The Nine-Eyed Beast Saint was so angry that his entire body trembled, because the 8-winged lion really did not give him any face. Arrogant. That's because you have the strength to be arrogant. The 8-winged lion sneered. Just as his voice fell, a voice came from outside the hall. 8-winged lion. What you just said. I agree very much. Arrogant. That's because you have the strength to be arrogant. This is a world where the strong preys on the weak. Powerful. Naturally, you can be arrogant. After this voice fell, for people and a snake entered the hall. The person in the lead was Lin Feng. These words were also said by Lin Feng. Behind Lin Feng were Emperor Juyin, the Bi-Sisters, and the three-headed viper. However, the three-headed viper had now become more than 10 meters long. If its body was too big, it would be inconvenient to move in the hall. Many people could not help but frown slightly when they saw Lin Feng. Previously, everyone knew that Lin Feng had killed Emperor Yinglong. However, they also knew that Emperor Juyin and Emperor Yinglong had a good relationship. Emperor Juyin had once wanted to kill Lin Feng because Emperor Yinglong had been killed by Lin Feng. However, he did not succeed. However, now, Lin Feng had actually come to Emperor Juyin's territory. What was going on? Many people were puzzled. The 8-winged lion frowned as he looked at Lin Feng. He felt that today's matter was somewhat strange. Therefore, he did not continue Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng continued, however, there is one thing. I have to tell you. It's completely fine for you to be arrogant. You can be arrogant in front of outsiders. You can be as arrogant as you want. However, you should not be so arrogant in front of your own people. Lin Feng's last words were obviously lecturing the 8-winged lion. The 8-winged lion's expression was gloomy. However, when he thought about how Lin Feng could kill Emperor Yinglong, his cultivation was indeed extraordinary. Therefore, he did not dare to directly refute Lin Feng. He looked at Emperor Juyin and said, My lord, this child, why is he here? Could it be that my lord has made peace with this child? Emperor Juyin's expression suddenly sank. He said, Impudent! How dare you speak to your master like that? Master? The 8-winged lion looked puzzled. Emperor Juyin actually addressed Lin Feng as master. This caused him to be dumbfounded. Lin Feng said indifferently, Everyone! I was the one who asked Emperor Juyin to recruit all of you. Now, everyone, Swear an oath to be loyal to this young master. This young master will not mistreat you. Swear the oath now." Everyone could not help but look at each other. "Humph, kid, do you think we'll swear the oath just because you asked us to? Although you killed Emperor Ing long back then, you did not rely on your own strength. However, he hadn't relied entirely on his own abilities. Instead, he had set up a trap to kill Imperial Lord Ing long. If a real battle were to break out, your strength might not be as good as ours. Why should we acknowledge you as our master?" The eight-winged lion sneered. "That's right. Why should we acknowledge you as our master? No matter how many cultivation resources you give us, we will not acknowledge you as our master." Many beast cultivators roared. Lin Feng said indifferently, "I'm accepting all of you because your ancestors have done good deeds." "Kid, you think too highly of yourself." The eight-winged lion sneered. Lin Feng glanced at the eight-winged lion indifferently and said, "Since I dared to make you acknowledge me as your master, naturally, I have the strength to make you acknowledge me as your master." Eight-winged lion, your strength should be breaking through to the sovereign master realm soon, right? Lin Feng said indifferently. "That's right," the eight-winged lion said proudly. "One move. To deal with you, I only need one move," Lin Feng said with his hands behind his back. As soon as Lin Feng said that, the crowd burst into an uproar. The eight-winged lion was very talented. Now that it had broken through to the sovereign master realm, even a sovereign master like Emperor Ing long might not be able to defeat it. However, Lin Feng said that he could defeat the eight-winged lion with one move. He did not put the eight-winged lion in his eyes at all. The eight-winged lion was usually very arrogant. However, now, everyone knew that the eight-winged lion was not arrogant in front of Lin Feng. Chapter 3972. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the eight-winged demonic lion was almost angered to death. No matter what, the eight-winged demonic lion was almost invincible under the sovereign lord realm in the dark ancient forest. Against some great emperors who had just entered the sovereign lord realm, it could even have the power to fight, but now it was despised by a young human cultivator. This made the eight-winged demonic lion furious. "Good. I want to see what qualifications you have to say such words. Perhaps soon I will see someone being slapped in the face," the eight-winged demonic lion said coldly. Lin Feng patted his clothes and then said, "You think too much. If I lose to a small character like you, then I might as well buy a piece of tofu and kill myself." The eight-winged demonic lion was so angry that it planned to teach Lin Feng a lesson. "Kid, eat my fist," the eight-winged demonic lion shouted coldly, and then punched towards Lin Feng. Behind the eight-winged demonic lion, a huge existence appeared. That existence was 1,000 meters tall and was a golden lion. The golden lion bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its roar shook the sky and seemed to be able to shatter the void. The fist technique that the eight-winged demonic lion used was called the Golden Saint Lion Fist. With a punch, it evolved into a Golden Saint Lion Phantom to support itself. Its battle-strength sword. Humph! Facing the eight-winged demonic lion's tyrannical attack, Lin Feng snorted and then stepped forward. A powerful aura was emitted from Lin Feng's body. That aura, this made everyone turn pale with fright. The eight-winged demonic lion, who was enveloped by this aura, suddenly felt as if its body did not belong to itself. It tried hard to struggle. However, it was difficult to break free. "It seems that I don't need to make a move. You have already lost," Lin Feng said indifferently. The eight-winged demonic lion opened its mouth and wanted to refute, but it really did not know how to refute Lin Feng. because the battle strength that Lin Feng displayed was indeed too strong. Let me ask you, are you convinced? Lin Feng looked at the eight-winged demonic lion indifferently. The eight-winged demonic lion's expression was uncertain. In the end, it nodded and said, "I'm convinced. I'm willing to submit. What about you guys?" Lin Feng looked at the others. After sensing the terrifying aura emanating from Lin Feng's body, the cultivators had completely submitted to Lin Feng. If he didn't know what to do, who knew what Lin Feng would do? "We're willing to submit," the group of Saint Emperors said. "Good. Now make the oath," Lin Feng said indifferently. "We swear on our souls that we are willing to be loyal to Lin Gongzi. If we dare to betray him, we will die a horrible death." The group of Saint Emperors swore. After they finished their oath, Lin Feng immediately felt a profound connection with the Saint Emperors. "As long as you're loyal to me, I won't treat you well. I won't mistreat you," said Lin Feng. "Thank you, young master." The group of Saint Emperors immediately thanked Lin Feng. Lin Feng then said, "Get ready. I've decided to deal with the Great Dream Emperor." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. The Great Dream Emperor was an existence that they couldn't afford to offend. Emperor Julian said, "Young master, the Great Dream Emperor can make us enter a dream instantly and then kill us in the dream. He's not someone we can afford to offend." "That's right, young master. If we go against the Great Dream Emperor, we might end up dying at his hands," the eight-winged demonic lion said. Lin Feng said, "The Great Dream Emperor's methods are indeed strange. Do you have any way to deal with him?" "The Great Dream Emperor's most powerful ability is to make people enter a dream instantly and then kill them in the dream. As long as we can't sleep, we won't be afraid of the Great Dream Emperor. Speaking of which, although the Great Dream Emperor's cultivation is quite high, if she doesn't use the dream entering technique, we won't be afraid of her." Emperor Julian said, "How can we not enter a dream?" Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. "Oh, right, there's a pill called the daytime pill. After swallowing it, you can stay awake for 3 days. No matter what happens, you won't fall asleep. Even if the Great Dream Emperor doesn't fall asleep, we can't let the cultivators who consumed the daytime pill fall asleep. This is the best time to suppress the Great Dream Emperor Lord," a sage emperor cultivator said. This Saint Emperor was transformed from a silver fox. Others called him the Silver Fox Demon Saint. The Silver Fox Overlord's combat strength wasn't particularly strong. In fact, he was far weaker than cultivators of the same level. However, no one dared to underestimate him. That was because the Silver Fox Overlord was an expert in array techniques and alchemy. Many beast cultivators maintained a good relationship with the Silver Fox Overlord. This was because when they needed pills, they would ask the Silver Fox Overlord to refine them. After hearing the Silver Fox Overlord's words, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at the Silver Fox Overlord and said, "Do you know the method to refine the daytime pill? If you can refine the daytime pill, I'll reward you handsomely. Young master, give me a few days. I'll go to the clan to check the medicine encyclopedia. I saw the method to refine this pill in an ancient book many years ago. As I thought it was a useless pill formula, I didn't pay much attention to it. I'll go look for it now." The Silver Fox Overlord said immediately. Now that he had just acknowledged a new master, he naturally knew that the first impression in front of Lin Feng was extremely important. Now, if he could help Lin Feng suppress the Great Dream Emperor, he would definitely be rewarded. One could imagine that in the future, he would have an extremely important position under Lin Feng's command. "Go, I'll wait for you here. Come back quickly," Lin Feng said. "Yes, I'll go now," the Silver Fox Overlord said. Then he quickly left the Nine-Eyed Emperor Palace and headed towards the Silver Fox clan's headquarters. Lin Feng waited for 5 days before the Silver Fox overlord returned. How was it? Lin Feng looked at the Silver Fox overlord. Young master, the heavens reward those who persevere. I finally found the formula in the mountain of books. This is the formula to refine the daytime pill. The Silver Fox overlord said, as he handed a piece of paper to Lin Feng. It was filled with spiritual herbs, steps to refine the pill, and things to take note of. Lin Feng glanced at it and nodded. All right, I'll refine the daytime pill now. Hurry up and refine it. Young master, I still lack a lot of these spiritual herbs, said the Silver Fox overlord. Lin Feng said, Don't worry. I'll get Emperor Julian to collect them. He handed the formula to Emperor Julian and said, Emperor Julian, do your best to collect all the spiritual herbs on this list as quickly as possible. Chapter 3973. Emperor Julian's efficiency was still very high. It only took half a day to collect all the spiritual herbs needed to refine the daytime pill. After Emperor Julian collected all the spiritual herbs, Emperor Julian handed them to the Silver Fox overlord. The Silver Fox overlord began to refine the pill. After 10 days, the Silver Fox overlord finished refining the pill. Good, Silver Fox overlord. You've refined the daytime pill. This is a great merit. This is the source of an emperor-level expert. Take it and refine it. I hope you can use this source to break through to the emperor-level expert's realm, said Lin Feng. Then he waved his hand. Swoosh! Divine light flashed, and suddenly a ball of energy source flew out. This ball of energy source was the source of an emperor-level expert's energy source. The emperor-level source of energy was no longer of any use to Lin Feng. However, it was the greatest attraction to these sage emperors. If they could refine the emperor-level source of energy, they might be able to take a step further and break through to the emperor-level expert's realm. Once they broke through to the emperor-level expert's realm, it would be a major transformation. This was because above the emperor-level experts were immortals. Immortals were high and mighty and eternal. Only after breaking through to the emperor-level expert's realm would they have the qualifications to pursue the immortal realm. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have the qualifications to pursue the immortal realm. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. This subordinate will definitely be loyal to young master. The Silver Fox overlord hurriedly kept the source of the emperor-level expert's energy source and thanked Lin Feng profusely. You deserve it. You've worked hard these days. Go and rest. Lin Feng said. Yes, this subordinate will take his leave. The Silver Fox overlord said, and then left. Inform all the cultivators above the sage emperor realm. Rest for 2 days. Then set off. Lin Feng said, Yes. After receiving the order, Emperor Julian quickly went to issue Lin Feng's mission. In the next 2 days, the sage emperors all knew that the Silver Fox demon sage had obtained an emperor master level energy source from Lin Feng. Those sage emperors were so envious that their eyes turned red. However, at this stage, they could only be envious and jealous. If they wanted to get such a reward from Lin Feng, they would need to make a great contribution. Right now, all these saint emperors only wanted to be loyal to Lin Feng. He hoped to be rewarded by Lin Feng. Therefore, the morale of these cultivators soared, and they were all waiting to make a contribution. This was also what Lin Feng wanted to see. After resting for 2 days, Lin Feng led Emperor Julian and the sage emperors to the territory of the great Dream Emperor. This time, Lin Feng didn't bring any cultivators below the sage emperor realm. He only brought 55 sage emperors, Emperor Julian, and the 3-headed viper. As for the Bai sisters, they stayed in the 9-eyed emperor palace. 5 days later, They arrived at a mountain forest 100 li away from the Great Dream Emperor Palace. Lin Feng distributed the pills to everyone, and they swallowed them. "Let's make our move tonight," Lin Feng said. Everyone nodded. As the saying goes, it's a dark and windy night to kill. Naturally, the best time to act was at night. Soon, night fell. Lin Feng's group was like a group of ghosts. They were as fast as lightning, and it didn't take long for them to arrive at the Great Dream Emperor Palace. The Great Dream Emperor Palace was the place where the Great Dream Emperor cultivated. Apart from the Great Dream Emperor Palace, there were dozens of large and small palaces around it. They were the residences of the Great Dream Emperor Palace's subordinates. The Great Dream Emperor Palace was extremely cautious. Therefore, he had recruited many experts. The security at night was also very strict. Not only were there huge universal mirrors scanning the sky, but there were also many guards patrolling the area. Lin Feng's group was too strong. It was naturally easy for them to kill the patrolling guards silently. Lin Feng first used the power of destiny to block the universal mirror's detection. Then, he split up with the group and killed all the patrolling guards. Then, they gathered at the Great Dream Emperor Palace. Lin Feng used the Space Dao and swept everyone into the Great Dream Emperor Palace. Swoosh, swoosh. After Lin Feng's group entered the Great Dream Emperor Palace, the Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace, who was cultivating cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. The Great Dream Emperor Palace's senses were really strong. Lin Feng's Space Dao was so strong, but he still couldn't hide from the Great Dream Emperor Palace. "Oh, it's you." The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace looked at Lin Feng with a gloomy expression. Then he looked at Emperor Julian and said, "I didn't expect the two of you to work together. My master is wise and mighty. I only regret meeting him so late." Emperor Julian said, "Your master? When did you become this kid's slave?" The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace was surprised. The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace continued, "You don't have to answer me. I'm just asking casually. I'm not interested in knowing. Are you here to die?" Lin Feng sneered. Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace. "I'm lacking a personal maid. You're pretty good looking and have a good cultivation base. You're barely qualified to be my personal maid." The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace sneered. "Anyone who dares to say such words to me is already a dead man. Even if there are more of you, you're nothing but ants in front of me." The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace was really confident in herself. Lin Feng sneered. "Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? Soon, you'll know whether I'm talking big or not." The Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace sneered. Then the Great Dream Emperor Palace's Emperor Palace waved her hand and muttered, "How many years has the Great Dream been? What year is it today?" As soon as the Great Dream Emperor Lord's voice faded, an extremely demonic energy escaped and poured into the bodies of Lin Feng and the others. Clearly, that demonic energy was the energy that could make Lin Feng and the others fall into a dreamland. In fact, Lin Feng was extremely worried that the daytime pill would be useless. This was because he had never seen the daytime pill before and knew its effects. Lin Feng heard it from the Silver Fox Demon Sage. But soon, a smile appeared on his face. This was because the monarch lord wanted them to sleep, but he failed. Lin Feng and the others didn't feel sleepy at all. Clearly, it was the effect of the daytime pill. Lin Feng's face immediately lit up with joy. How is this possible? Seeing that Lin Feng and the others were still awake, the Great Dream Emperor Lord's face suddenly changed. Chapter 3974. "Ha ha ha ha! Great Dream Emperor Lord, it seems that your divine ability has no effect on us. You won't be able to escape today." Lin Feng burst out laughing. Great Dream Emperor Lord's divine ability was ineffective. In that case, the threat she posed to Lin Feng was greatly reduced. "Even if I can't put you to sleep against you, it's still a piece of cake." Great Dream Emperor Lord's eyes flashed with a murderous intent. She looked at Lin Feng and the others as if she was looking at dead people. With a wave of her hand, countless formation runes in the entire palace suddenly came to life. The formation runes vibrated violently. This palace was not simple. With so many formation runes combined, it could cause great lethality. Great Dream Emperor Lord's methods were very powerful. Perhaps she knew that she was slightly lacking in combat strength, so she built such a powerful palace. If there was an emergency, she could use the formation in the palace to launch an attack. As a result, her cultivation base and the power of the formation were enough to deal with all kinds of situations. TSK, your formation skills are really good. However, Great Dream Emperor Lord, I'm afraid you've miscalculated today. Against others, the formation is powerful enough to show enough lethality, but if you want to use it against me, it's completely impossible. Lin Feng suddenly sneered. As the successor of the Heavenly Master's lineage, Lin Feng was naturally very confident in his methods. Shameless boasting. Great Dream Emperor Lord sneered. The Great Dream Empress sneered. She was also extremely confident in her own means. Under her control, the powerful formation runes all rushed toward Lin Feng and the others. Many cultivators could not help but show a horrified expression. Great Dream Emperor Lord's attack. It was really too powerful. Everyone was shocked. Their minds were shocked. However, Lin Feng was still very calm. When it came to competing with formations, Lin Feng had never been afraid of anyone. Lin Feng began to use the Heaven Seizing technique. When the Heaven Seizing technique was activated, the formation runes that were rushing toward Lin Feng and the others suddenly stopped in midair. Great Dream Emperor Lord tried her best to control the formation runes to attack Lin Feng and the others, but no matter how hard she tried, the formation runes, they did not move an inch. Shock, disbelief. You can really control my formation. Great Dream Emperor Lord said. Great Dream Emperor Lord looked at Lin Feng with an ugly expression. She wanted to know how Lin Feng did it. Of course. Lin Feng smiled icily. He released all sorts of deployment marks towards the Great Dream Emperor. Attack! Then Lin Feng shouted in a deep voice. Lin Feng took out more than 10 powerful magic treasures and attacked the Great Dream Emperor Lord. Seeing Lin Feng take action, Emperor Julian, the three-headed viper, and the 55 Sage Emperors also took action and attacked the Great Dream Emperor Lord. All kinds of powerful magic treasures and mystiques gathered together, forming a long river of attacks that drowned the Great Dream Emperor Lord. Great Dream Emperor Lord's face was extremely ugly. Great Dream Emperor Lord took out a powerful magic treasure. It was a mysterious pagoda. The pagoda shone down rays of divine light that protected the Great Dream Emperor Lord. When all kinds of earth-shattering attacks came crashing down, they were all blocked by the divine light that came down from the pagoda. This surprised Lin Feng. The Great Dream Emperor Lord's magic treasure was really powerful. It seemed that it would not be easy to deal with the Great Dream Emperor Lord. However, Lin Feng was already mentally prepared for this. He naturally knew that it was unrealistic to take down the Great Dream Emperor Lord in a short time. Lin Feng set up a great formation and sealed the entire hall. The Great Dream Emperor Lord was now a turtle in a jar. Huff, 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 huff. The three-headed viper began to spit out poison to deal with the Great Dream Emperor Lord. The three-headed viper's poison was extremely powerful. The poison's penetrative power was extremely terrifying. The defensive light shield outside the great Dream Emperor Lord was completely enveloped by the poisonous mist. The poisonous mist from the three-headed viper began to corrode the defensive light shield. The defensive power of the light shield protecting the great Dream Emperor Lord was getting weaker and weaker. In addition, the great Dream Emperor Lord had to withstand the attacks of Lin Feng and the others. The defensive light shield was gradually losing its support. If Lin Feng was alone, the great Dream Imperial Emperor's cultivation level was extremely high. Even though she wasn't particularly good at fighting in the real world, she was convinced that she could easily crush Lin Feng. However, that was not the case. Lin Feng was not alone. Lin Feng had 2 great emperors and 55 saint emperors by his side. The great Dream Emperor Lord could not fight against so many. How could one person fight against so many people like Lin Feng? Therefore, the great Dream Emperor Lord's situation was getting worse. The great Dream Emperor Lord knew that once the defensive light shield was broken, she would be in grave danger. The great Dream Emperor Lord looked at Lin Feng and said in a deep voice, "I can apologize to you for what happened before. Why do we have to hurt each other? Why don't we both take a step back?" Take a step back. You want to take a step back now. Sorry, this young master has no such intention. This young master has taken a liking to you. I must take you as my personal maid, Lin Feng said indifferently. Emperor Julian chuckled and said, "The great Dream Emperor Lord is afraid of everyone. Only a talent like the young master can conquer the great Dream Emperor Lord." Shameless? The great Dream Emperor Lord naturally understood the double meaning in Emperor Julian's words and cursed. Emperor Julian said with a smile, "Great Dream Emperor Lord, you have the young master's favor. This is the good fortune you have cultivated for 3 lifetimes. How can you be so ignorant? You don't know your own good fortune." The great Dream Emperor Lord's expression was extremely ugly. She could no longer be bothered to scold Emperor Julian. Asterisk bang bang bang. Asterisk Lin Feng. And the others increased the intensity of their attacks. In the end, the defensive light shield of the great Dream Emperor Lord's defensive pagoda could not withstand the attacks from Lin Feng and the others. Asterisk crack crack. Asterisk the cracks on the defensive light shield became more and more severe. Asterisk bang. Asterisk in the end, following a violent explosion, the defensive light barrier directly exploded. The river of attacks from Lin Feng and the others exuded a power that could destroy heaven and earth as it blasted toward the great Dream Emperor Lord. The great Dream Emperor Lord used the divine ability Stellar Transposition in an attempt to neutralize the attacks from Lin Feng and the others. However, it failed in the end. The divine ability was instantly broken by Lin Feng and the others. Then,